Your racing radio stations in Melbourne, 3UZ Good Sports, in Perth, Racing Radio 1206, and in Brisbane, 4TAB, are proud to support the 13th edition of the Australasian Racing Year for season 94-95.
Well, Sarah Campbell has just scored the biggest win of her career.
Solvent in front, Solvent! Brave Warrior fighting back tenaciously, but Dane Wynn ridden an absolute treat by Jackie Chair.
Paris Lane after Zern, but Zern will win it. Zern first.
Brave Warrior inch by inch is getting to him with the Cross flying down the outside Durbridge.
Paris Lane, Zern, Rough Habit, what a win!
And look at the Pony Express. Navy Seal is charging down the outside with Beatman on board.
Once again this year, Raceplay, the sporting company, have been joined in this production by Sky Channel, Australia's satellite sporting network.
Welcome to the 13th edition of the Australasian Racing Year, a season in which racing in this half of the world became increasingly international. We again saw a major European involvement in our greatest race, the Foster's Melbourne Cup, won by the David Hayes trained Zern, formerly trained in England and owned in Dubai by Sheikh Hamdan Al Maktoum. We witnessed with amazement as our leading trainer, the same cup-winning David Hayes, surrendered his Victorian and South Australian licences to tackle the financially lucrative challenges of racing in Hong Kong. And we stood by as a new legend unfolded before our eyes. Yes, after 2 short seasons on Australian soil, the stallion Danehill became Australia's champion sire, as well as champion sire of 2-year-olds for the second time. Danehill has now sired the Golden Slipper winners in both his first 2 crops, an astonishing achievement when you consider the number of studs and stallions competing across Australia and New Zealand. And he also has the champion 3-year-old in Dane Wynn. For season 94-95, the Group 1 action began as usual at Moonee Valley on August the 13th, with the running of the Group 1 Manikato Stakes at Weight for Age. Inside the 600, Sequalo ahead in front. On the outside, Hariba. They're burnt off now, Cloggett at third, and here's Primacy putting in a run quickly. A length further back, Spanish Mix running to fifth from Street Ruffian, Elenon. King Marauding, Palace Range, Shaminda first, Star of Maple. Up before the bend, 350 out, Sequalo just in front. On the outside, Hariba, and now Primacy further out with Spanish Mix. They're racing quickly to Sequalo. Hariba's gone, they turn, and Spanish Mix and Primacy hit the front from Sequalo. Then a gap to Palace Rain. Out in the centre though, it's Spanish Mix in front from Primacy and Sequalo, then Shaminda Fur, but Spanish Mix is starting to come away and the mare's too good. Spanish Mix is going to win the Manikato 2.5. Second Primacy, I think Shaminda Fur got third, the Bolter. Spanish Mix provided something of a surprise result, having disappointed at her first up run at Rose Hill. This was the first of 3 Group 1s for the season for Sydney's premier trainer, John Hawkes. The Manikato Stakes is one of the recognised spring curtain races. Another is the Churnside Stakes, this year won brilliantly by the Lee Freedman trained Poetic King. With jockey Damien Oliver on board and beginning from an inside barrier, Poetic King was a worthy favourite for the Vic Health Cup.
Pretty tightly bunched though, Street Ruffian about a neck in front, Sebastral. Lovey on the outside and Ballpark caught about 4 wide. Poetic King just behind them, the rail followed by Hariba. There followed a half a length, Sequalo and then Spanish Mix. Let's Cut Loose back on the inside. Further back in the field, about the middle of the pack at the moment, is Ben's Rocket, Balmoral Bow and Port Watch making runs round the outside. Capchat very deep, followed by Lord Triton, Draft Choice, Shaminda Fair and Monsieur out wide and last. Round the turn they come and Street Ruffian the leader. Sebastral chasing him, Port Watch is in the clear. Spanish Mix out wide and then came Let's Cut Loose. At the 200 now, Sebastral and Street Ruffian about to be grabbed by Poetic King now. Poetic King descended on the lead. Coming after it is Let's Cut Loose, but it's Poetic King breaking clear of the pack and he's home. Poetic King scores well by a length and a half. Let's Cut Loose, photo third. Sebastral on the inside perhaps.
A magnificent ride from Damien Oliver, yet another Group 1 triumph for the irrepressible Freedman brothers. Poetic King is a real Caulfield specialist. Having won 5 races at the track, they called the heat. The other major race on Vic Health Cup Day is the Underwood Stakes. This year, by way of experiment, the Victoria Amateur Turf Club reduced the race from 2,000 to 1,800 metres. Whatever the distance, the race was to prove a major guide for big races later in the season.
They've gone past the 800 metre mark. Runyon about a half to 3/4 in front of State Tars second. Paris Lane 2 lengths back third on the inside of Mahogany. There's been little or no change in the order. Back behind those, Jeune starting his run at the 600 metre mark, coming into it 3 wide now. Then our Pompeii, Seattle 2 lengths to Darks are the Phantom Chance, Young Pirate. At the turn now, Runyon tackled by State Tars. Mahogany just behind them. So too Paris Lane coming into it, and then Jeune. State Tars turned in front of Runyon. Mahogany coming at them quickly. Paris Lane pocketed. Jeune on the outside at State Tars, grabbed by now Mahogany. Jeune in turn over the top, and then Paris Lane. Mahogany under the whip, tackled by Jeune in the last 100. Jeune and Mahogany fighting it out neck and neck from Paris Lane. Jeune grabbed the lead. Paris Lane after Jeune, but Jeune will win it. Jeune first, Paris Lane second, Mahogany a weakening third.
Trainer David Hayes forecast before the race that the 1994 Horse of the Year, Mahogany, would be in for a long spring if he couldn't hold out Jeune at 1800 metres. It turned out to be a major piece of training prophecy. Meanwhile, the Australian Jockey Club Spring Carnival was underway, and that Freedman team was at it again.
Past the 800 mark, Durbridge in his favourite role, led by a length to Soho Square and 3/4 away. March Hare near the fence, a length to Brave Warrior. He's being niggled a bit by Munce as they come to the turn, followed by Law of the Land. Then Kingston Bay in that bunch, No Bellotto, followed by Wabasso. Deposition. Viander Cross has pulled out wide, is starting to make up ground, and still Telesto is last and Navy Seal second last. Over the rise now, and Durbridge is Carey got away from them. Durbridge put about 2.5 lengths on Soho Square, followed by March Hare, and then Brave Warrior, but Durbridge going strongly at the 200 mark. March Hare knuckling down to his work, and here comes the 3-year-old Brave Warrior. Brave Warrior's the one to go after Durbridge. Durbridge still in front. Brave Warrior inch by inch is getting to him with Viander Cross flying down the outside. Durbridge has lasted the win, the George Main from Brave Warrior, and Vandy a huge run for third wide out.
The George Main was the 20th win for Durbridge, in a career that has spanned 6 seasons with wins in each of them. Durbridge had been Australia's champion older horse in season 93-94 and had been a serious challenger for the Horse of the Year award, won by his stablemate, the dual Derby and Guineas winner Mahogany. 3-year-old Brave Warrior had run a mighty race for second to Durbridge in the George Main and was naturally regarded as the one to beat against his own age group in the Group 1 AJC Spring Champion Stakes. His danger was undoubtedly Damewin, a colt from the Bob Thompson stable who had done so well to win the Dulcify Quality the previous Saturday with 57 kilos.
700 to go. Brave Warrior's been in front for most of the trip, led by a length to Shystad. Dane Winners third on the fence, followed by Glide Away, and then Law of the Land and Breathtaker with Stay Tuned 3 deep as they near the turn, and the last couple of Simulcast and Celtic Explosion with Simulcast under heavy pressure. Coming around the corner, Brave Warrior the leader. Jackie Chair has come off the fence on Dane Win, who's had a dream run, and Dane Win goes up to head Brave Warrior. Brave Warrior gave in pretty quickly. Stay Tuned down the outside is a big danger. Stay Tuned has raced up to Dane Win. They're clear of Brave Warrior and Glide Away. It's Dane Win clear with 100 to go. Brave Warrior coming again. Stay Tuned can't go on. Dane Win just in front. Brave Warrior fighting back tenaciously, but Dane Win ridden an absolute treat by Jackie Chair, and Dane Win beat Brave Warrior. Stay Tuned has run third, followed by Breathtaker.
A perfect ride there by Hong Kong jockey Jackie Chair, but an inconclusive result given that Brave Warrior was forced to lead. The Champion Stakes is one of the highlights of the AJC Spring Meeting. Another is the Epsom Handicap, a race with a long and colourful history.
Around the first turn, over the top, came right over from the outside barrier to go to the lead over Play or Pay. Bundy Lad third, a length away, Star Dancer. Slight Chances 3 deep on the outside of Wabasso. March Hare can't get on the track. He's 4 wide. Mr. Mutual Respect between horses on the fence, Captingly. Further back, Unequalled, and then Cape Stad, Soho Square, followed by Navy Seal, My Diamond Rouge, Big Dreams, Tenor, Potential Star, and then Kingston Bay, Telesto, and Cabora last as they come around the corner. Over the top is first into the straight in the Epsom. Play or Pay second, Bundy Lad third. Getting a rails run is Star Dancer as over the top starts to lug away from the rail. He hampered Play or Pay there. Further out is Wabasso running a bit of a race, and March Hare further out with Navy Seal past the 200 mark. Play or Pay fighting it out with Star Dancer, Bundy Lad, and look at the Pony Express. Navy Seal is charging down the outside with Beedman on board. Navy Seal, the first emergency, storms to the lead in the Epsom. Cabora jumping out of the ground. Navy Seal just in front and won. Navy Seal has lasted to win the Epsom of Breath to Cabora.
The Epsom turned out to be a personal triumph for popular jockey Darren Beedman, who only returned to race riding 4 weeks earlier after a 9-month disqualification, courtesy of the stewards in Hong Kong. It was to represent the foundation of a marvellous year for Beedman. who ultimately won Sydney's Jockeys Premiership with more than a century of winners. Navy Seal is trained at Newcastle by his managing part owner, the astute Paul Perry, and was bred in the Hunter Valley by Jim Bartholomew at Barrador Stud. 2 days after the Epsom is the AJC's other big spring handicap, the Metropolitan, over 2,600 metres. Here the favourite was the Gold Coast visitor Umpala, having cut a swathe through the Winter and Spring Cup races with victories in the Gatton, Tattersalls, Ipswich, Caloundra and Newcastle Cups. 7 days earlier in a major Metropolitan handicap lead-up, Glastonbury had tailed out to last as favourite. The David Hayes gelding had to subsequently endure a number of veterinary checks and chiropractic manipulations before being allowed to take his place in the field.
Going around that top turn, and Tiakau Nick is the leader. Striking Goal second, Cautious Cluden third. Now there's Double Take making a fast move on the outside of Rose Reward, followed by Restitution. Pleasant Conquest is out deep and ridden a bit now, followed by Irish Rort, who's had a good run on the fence. Further back, Nasser Rich, and then Cup of Cheer, followed by Dark Czar, who's not doing enough at the moment. Glastonbury well back with Major Decision. Umpala giving them a tidy start as they come to the turn, and he's under some pressure, followed by Anything's Possible, and tailed off is the Hunted. Coming around the turn, Tiakau Nick the leader, over Double Take on the outside, 3 deep, Rose Reward. Striking Gold is gone, Cautious Cluden on the fence behind them, and Restitution on the outside. Further out, Glastonbury and Nasser Rich. On top of the rise, Tiakau Nick tackled on all sides, firstly by Cautious Cluden, Rose Reward, and here's the big grey Glastonbury, and Irish Rort is getting through near the rail. Glastonbury swept to the lead 100 metres out, Irish Rort on the fence, Umpala in the centre. Glastonbury is struggling near the line, Umpala can't quite reach him, and Glastonbury won the Metrop over Umpala.
Glastonbury's defeat of the luckless Umpala precipitated one of the noisiest and most sustained demonstrations on an Australian racecourse for years. Despite the fact that punters were warned to expect radical improvement from Glastonbury, the last to first form reversal in a Group 1 race did not go down well at all with rank and file punters. Glastonbury may not be any thoroughbred oil painting, but he has an admirable pedigree, being a Sir Tristram half-brother to TJ Smith's former champion, Bounding Away.
Rather loud.
We've already seen how Dane Win and Brave Warrior dominated the early season classic scene among the 3-year-old males. The fillies races had been dominated by a magnificent athlete named Dana Rani. Does the name sound familiar? That's right, another classic performer sired by Danehill.
Aragen midfield as they go over the crossing, and then Sweet Consort, Scenic Star, followed by Ingenuity and Jen's Halo. Street Theatre well back and under a bit of pressure as they come to the 600, followed by Wave Hello, and tailed off is Talaga. Coming towards the bend now, the leader Gaelic Melody, a half length to Shadowy Outline. Live It Up in third place, Marathon fourth, followed by Danarani, and then Euphoria, Aragen, Taryara. They're packing up on the turn. Further back, Warning Siren, Sweet Consort, Scenic Star. Street Theatre's in front of about 3 as they come over the rise, where Live It Up has raced up to grab the lead. Danarani coming at it quickly, and now Aragen popped the question. She's got the last shot at them. Past the 200, Live It Up tackled by Danarani. Euphoria getting through near the inside. Aragen is struggling a bit now. It's Danarani just the leader over Live It Up, and Euphoria close to home. Danarani in front. She won't give up. She's all heart. She's drawing away on the line, and Danarani beat Live It Up second. Marathon third. Aragen died on her run. So did Euphoria.
Danarani had been narrowly beaten by Aragen in the Silver Shadow Stakes at Warwick Farm, but was too good in the remaining 3 races of the Princess Series. Danarani was trained by the Group 1 master Bart Cummings and was perfectly handled by Kevin Moses.
While many of the stars were out at Randwick during the AJC's Spring Carnival, the pace of Melbourne's Carnival moved up a cog with the running of the Group 2 Turnbull Stakes at Flemington.
Only 5 lengths first to last now, and Mahogany's had a cheap time in front. Comes to the turn, just the leader from Paris Lane, Numsing out wider. Behind them, Sugarstone and Tristalove waiting for the last pounce. Then top rating, Gossip's coming wide. Reading is next, and the Phantom Chance shuffled out to last. Paris Lane moved up now to Mahogany. They go together at the 400. Mahogany the inside and Paris Lane both haven't really gone for home yet. Leading 2 lengths to Tristalove and Reading sneaking through. He's coming home. Paris Lane went to the lead over Mahogany. Paris Lane at the 200 got a length in front. Reading's coming home well then. Tristalove. Paris Lane the leader. Reading after him, 100 to go. Paris Lane coming out off the track. He's a half in front of Reading. Paris Lane, Reading, here's the line. Paris Lane won it. Paris Lane a half a length to Reading. 3 lengths away.
Although not a Group 1, the Turnbull is invariably a powerful spring pointer, and this season was no exception. Reading did protest against Paris Lane, and the stewards had little option but to relegate Paris Lane. 7 days later, the racing spotlight shifted across town to Caulfield for the Guineas meeting. On opening day, Caulfield hosted 3 Group 1s in a single afternoon, beginning with the Toorak Handicap, in which the favourite was the Vic Health Cup winner, Poetic King.
Spanish mixed the rail, Our Illustrious next, and then Let's Cut Loose to the outside from Oppressor. They're followed by Starstruck, and next upwards Kingston Bay, Campaign Warrior, and 3 lengths to Spring Theme as they thunder to the turn in the Toorak Handicap now at the 400. And Port Watch the leader, Poetic King, has eased off the rail, comes around State Taj's heels, 3 wide into the straight now. Then Primacy feeling the pinch, and next is Ballpark. Port Watch, State Taj turn in front. Oh, but Cassidy had a look across his shoulder on Poetic King as he sends the favourite to the lead. Oppressor's getting up on the inside. It's Poetic King in front. Oppressor at big odds is running a bold race on the inside. Poetic King and Oppressor. Poetic King, Oppressor. He tried to jump Oppressor, but he'll win it. Oppressor has won it a half a length. Poetic King, Spring Theme has got up for third.
A boil-over result with 66 to 1 chance Oppressor getting up in the final strides to nail the favourite. Part owner and trainer Greg Mance had also won the Toorak in 1989 with Coal Diesel. Oppressor is the 4th Group 1 winner to the credit of Widden Stud Salieri, the others being Shaftesbury Avenue, Scalacci and Prince Salieri. The Caulfield Stakes has run over 2,000 metres at weight for age and is considered a major lead-up to the Caulfield Cup, run at the same track 7 days later. Jeune and Paris Lane were the 2 stayers commanding most attention.
Jeune going up on the outside of it. Back behind those, then the Phantom Chance, Air Seattle ridden along on the rail. Then Rough Habit sneaking through on the inside at the 600-metre mark from Tenor and Our Pompeii. At the turn they race now, and Paris Lane moved up to join Sarasan. Jeune on the outside of Paris Lane, poised to pounce. Then the Phantom Chance running on under pressure. And next is Air Seattle. Paris Lane into the straight, the leader. Jeune moved up to him, followed by the Phantom Chance, and then Sarasan, Air Seattle. Jeune took the lead at the 200. Paris Lane fights back well on the inside. They've raced away now from Rough Habit, finishing well. Jeune and Paris Lane, nothing between them from Rough Habit, the Phantom Chance. Paris Lane and Jeune with Rough Habit coming at them. Paris Lane, Jeune, Rough Habit, Rough Habit. What a win! Rough Habit has got up to win in the last 2 strides.
While the rider of Jeune was undoubtedly in too much of a hurry, let's not detract from the performance of Rough Habit. What an incredible racehorse. An 8-year-old gelding who won a Queensland Derby at 3 and has been competitive at Group 1 level for 6 successive seasons. Rough Habit has been trained throughout his career by the popular John Wheeler. David Hayes had one of Australia's best older horses in Jeune. He also had 2 of the best 3-year-olds in St Covert and Blevick, seen here fighting out the semi-classic Group 2 Billstadt Stakes.
But St Covert raced away at the 352 in front. Now the stablemate Blevick is out and out after this leader, St Covert. Then Northwood Plume back to the fence from Punctual, and Obsessed a mile back, followed by Skipper Regent. Blevick races quickly now to St Covert, and Northwood Plume got the rails run. Northwood Plume going up on the inside after St Covert, further out Blevick. Blevick on the outside, races up now, gets his head in front from St Covert and then Punctual. Blevick just in front from St Covert coming back, but Blevick a half head St Covert.
The stablemates renewed hostilities in the Caulfield Guineas, with some extra spice being added by Sydney's best sprinting 3-year-old, Marwina.
700 to run now, and St Covert the leader, just a length in front here. Marwina is second, and on the outside is Blevick third. 2 lengths to Race's Edge. King asking him to do something now. He's riding him along. 2 to Punctual Lindbergh, Stay Tuned. Followed then by Pomcell, and Obsessed might be the race. St Covert leads the Guineas field at the turn. 400 to go from Marwina and Blevick coming at them. Racer's Edge winding up on the outside into the straight. St Covert went for home for Harris, led a length and a half. Marwena sticking on gamely. Blevick the outside, and then Racer's Edge in fourth placing at the 200. St Covert in front, tackled by Marwena. It's St Covert by a length though. Marwena can't reach St Covert. It's St Covert going strongly for Wayne Harris, and St Covert will win the guineas. St Covert a length to Marwena, 2.5 lengths a photo third. Blevick just from punctual.
A fitting reward for one of the most genuine and consistent of racehorses. St Covert had been Australasia's champion 2-year-old in the 1994 classification, and now has a classic to his credit. St Covert returned to winning form yet again in the autumn, before being syndicated and retired to Glenlogan Stud at Beaudesert in Queensland. The 1,000 guineas was another classic Melbourne versus Sydney affair. Sydney had the Flight Stakes winner Danarani, hailed in some corners as a coming champion. Melbourne's Group 1 genius, Lee Freedman, offered a powerful home defence with Love of Mary and the underrated Northwood Plume.
Bionic Best starting a run a long way from home round the outside, then Danarani. She's got shuffled back a little, about 7th on the inside from Northwood Plume, then Euphoria Preview, and 3 to Captiva. At the turn in the 1,000 guineas, Alice Bluegown in front. On the outsiders, Love of Mary, and moving up to those then is Bionic Bess around the turn, and they're about 3 lengths Majestic Dawn. Danarani is hard ridden next when they enter the straight, and then Northwood Plume in the straight now. Bionic Bess and Love of Mary turn together, running on Majestic Dawn, Northwood Plume, and then a gap Danarani. It's Bionic Bess in front of Love of Mary inside the 200. Northwood Plume is starting to mow them down, and Euphoria late. Northwood Plume hit the front though. Northwood Plume starts to draw clear. Northwood Plume wins the guineas by just on a length. A photo the miners, Danarani or Bionic Bess with Captiva between them.
If you watch the Caulfield Stakes closely, you'd see Paris Lane being ridden to the line hands and heels by substitute rider Darren Beedman. Now here was the clue for the Rich Foster's Caulfield Cup the following week. Form analysts confirmed that Paris Lane ran to his established best in the Caulfield Stakes, but the genius of Freedman had him primed to ascend to a new personal best in the race that really mattered.
Over the hill at the 1200, and the leader Gold Sovereign. It's a truly run cup. He's 2.5 in front. It's All in Fun as second. 3 lengths further back is Alcove. A length and a half then to Gossips, followed by Oppressor. 1.5 to Paris Lane. 2 lengths further back is Tenor, who's following Paris Lane. Fraternity the outside. Next a length and a half away, Bullwinkle. He's followed by Starstruck, Dark Czar, Air Seattle, and then came out Pompeii. Hear that bell a long way back on the inside. 2 or 3 lengths further back in the field, then came Sari Club and Navy Seal, Umpala and Rough Habiters last of all. At the 600, Gold Sovereign by 2 lengths. It's All in Fun, 2.5 to Alcove. A press of the inside, hard ridden. Here's Paris Lane. Paris Lane starting his run around the home turn. Tenegas off the fence coming home. Fraternity out wide staking a claim, and Bullwinkle with a run. Out wide then came out Pompeii. It's All in Fun, led the field into the straight. Paris Lane after him from Alcove. Then came Tenor. It's All in Fun, grabbed by Paris Lane and Alcove. Paris Lane at the 200 took the lead from Alcove. Tenor down the outside, but Paris Lane broke away. He's home, Paris Lane's cup. 2 lengths Alcove and Tenor, and Paris Lane wins it. A length and a half to Alcove, third is Tenor.
Paris Lane's victory was the second Caulfield Cup in 3 years for Freedman and his stable jockey Damien Oliver. It also confirmed Freedman's reputation as the emerging master of the precision timing of a horse's Group 1 preparation. Paris Lane is owned by a syndicate of Melbourne businessmen, including VRC committee man Andrew Ramsden, and many of whom had raced the 1982 Caulfield Melbourne Cups hero, Gurners Lane.
The Melbourne Cup may be the centrepiece of the Spring Carnival, but the race which has really grabbed the public's imagination in recent years is the WS Cox Plate, a weight-for-age race over 2,040 metres at Moonee Valley, and this season sponsored for the first time by BMW. The imported stallion Jeune was all the rage after his brilliant win in the Underwood Stakes and his unlucky placing behind Rough Habit and Paris Lane in the Caulfield Stakes. The Cox Plate also featured the return to Australia of Solvit, the Kiwi frontrunner who'd beaten all but the Phantom Chance in this race 12 months earlier.
Racing, they're off.
And down on the inside, Reading bounced out quickly with Snap and Durbridge, and here's St Covered, the 3-year-old, going over quickly up towards the front. Solbert easing back in the early point. Durbridge is second. St Covered leads them at the winning post. St Covered crosses over now. He's got the front. He leads a length and a half. Durbridge and Solbert on the outside of him, pushed out a little wide. It's all in fun. Snap on the inside, 1.5. Then further back, Soho Square. Reading on the rail from Danewin. They're followed further back by Trista Lovers. Solbert goes up to the lead at the 1400 metre mark, and Solbert goes to the front in the BMW Cox Plate. Leads a length and a half now to in second placing St Covered. 3 to Durbridge, a length further back. It's all in fun running fourth. Then Danewin pushed out wide, followed further back in the field by Snap. They're followed by Soho Square. Reading over on the inside from Trista Love. Then Jernan further back in the race, Alcove. Then further back in the race, River Verdon. Rough Habit is last and second last tenor. Solbert in front down the back of the 1100. They're not going hard. He's setting a nice little speed in front. At the back of the track now, and it's Solbert by 3. St Covered second, 1.5. Durbridge third. Danewin is racing wide up to fourth around Snap on the rail. A length further back, it's all in fun. 2 to Reading, a half Soho Square. 1.5 the mare, Trista Love. Jonas caught a little deep, followed by Alcove, River Verdon. Rough Habit is back at the tail at tenor. They've gone to the 750, and it's the Kiwi Solbert. Solbert carving out a good speed by 2.5. The 3-year-old second for Matthews at the moment, St Covered. A length for the back, Durbridge. They're followed getting up on the inside by Snap. 1.5 then to Reading going up to 5th. Then Danewin, Soho Square, it's all in fun. Jean hard ridden, River Verdon's gone past him. Then Trista Love, and further back in the race, Rough Habit and tenor. And well back is Alcove. Solbert the leader up to the bend. Durbridge after him on the outside. They're followed by Reading into the clear now, coming with a run. At the 200, Solbert 2 in front. Reading and Durbridge after him now, followed by Alcove. Solbert the leader. Reading wearing him down, getting a run through Rough Habit. The mighty Rough Habit after Solbert. Solbert in front. Solbert wins a nose, Rough Habit. Reading is third, I'd say, from Alcove. They're followed further back by Danewin, St Covered.
Solbert survived that photo to add another colourful chapter to Cox Plate history. The New Zealander is part-owned and trained by Mrs. Moira Murdoch and is ridden by the senior Kiwi jockey, David Walsh. Solbert is by far the best winner produced to date by the English stayer Morcon, and his dam, Yellow Sun, was a minor winner who couldn't take her speed beyond 800 metres. One of the other features on Cox Plate Day is the Moonee Valley Cup, formerly run as a handicap, but now run at special weights over 2,600 metres. In 1990, the race provided the Melbourne Cup winner, Kingston Rule. And this year's victor was also destined to be among the popular elects at Flemington on the first Tuesday in November.
Goal Sovereign 500 out, under enormous pressure, 3 to Top Rating. The Phantom Chance a length away to third, then Pindy out, Pompey strike high. Glastonbury's starting to drop out. Top Rating's got to Goal Sovereign on the turn. 2 further back out, Pompey with a run now. The Phantom Chance struggling, and further back in the race, strike high. Top Rating went for home, 200 to go. Shot 3 in front now from our Pompey. He looks home, Top Rating. He's 4 in front now from our Pompey. Starstruck with a late run, very, very late, but he's well clear, Top Rating. He's down by the rider. Top Rating wins at a length and 3/4. Might be Starstruck and nose to our Pompey for the minors.
Melbourne in the spring is a feast of quality racing. After the Cox Plate, the spotlight shifts about 5 kilometres across Melbourne to famous Flemington for 4 days of champagne thoroughbred competition. Opening day at Flemington is Derby Day, viewed by most as the finest single day's racing on the Australian calendar, with the highlight being the Group 1 AAMI Victoria Derby.
And Stony Bay is the leader. He's had a pretty good time of it out in front as they came to the turn at the 600. Stony Bay in front of Deja Slew. Danewin waiting for the last crack, sits behind Stony Bay into the straight. Kid Calamity Oliver's off around the outside from Punctual, and further back is Blevik. Stony Bay led the Derby field. Down to the 400, kicked out 2 lengths. Danewin gives chase now. Blevik gets to third on the inside of Deja Slew, and Kid Calamity with a run. Danewin's after Stony Bay, 250 to go. Blevik challenges strongly. Danewin, Stony Bay at the 200 with Blevik coming at them. Danewin and Stony Bay, Blevik on the outside. Danewin put its nose in front. Blevik answers the whip of Rodney Griffiths. Blevik got to Danewin in the shadows, and Blevik won the Derby. Blevik by half a length to Danewin. Third, Stony Bay.
A Derby triumph for international owner Robert Sangster and his racing partner, longtime friend and former Premier trainer Colin Hayes. Blevik is the star of the first crop of the Group 1 winning Sadler's Wells horse, Scenic, who stands at Hayes Collingrove Stud in the Hunter Valley. The race was a Derby first for Colin's son David, who took over the training of the Lindsay Park Empire in 1990. And congratulations must also go to jockey Rod Griffiths, who literally rode the perfect race. The Southcorp Packaging Stakes has gone by many names in its commercial history, but the race has a happy knack of isolating the best sprinters in training.
Leader at the 400 from Legal Agent. Roanoke Boy, you remember, Primacy under the whip, and then Poetic King as they came towards the 200-metre mark now. Out on the grandstand side, Royal Discard going to the lead, but it's Hariba. Hariba left them dazzling on the inside. He's broken 4 lengths in front. Hariba well clear. Royal Discard leads the grandstand, but it's Hariba and Royal Discard from Carpendingly. Hariba's won it on the flat side. A brilliant performance.
This was Hariba's first start with new partner Simon Marshall, regular jockey Michael Clark having been sacked after the gelding's unplaced run in the Vic Health Cup behind Poetic King. Hariba overcame a clear track bias which favoured horses on the outside rail, so there was enormous merit in this performance. As we'll see later in the Australasian racing year, we definitely had not heard the last of Hariba.
The push to internationalise the Foster's Melbourne Cup has seen the quality of the race increase enormously. Gone are the days where the lightly weighted stayers slog home to beat the top horses anchored under big weights. Today's Melbourne Cup winner must be of weight for age calibre. So what better place to find this year's Melbourne Cup winner than in the traditional weight for age lead-up, the LKS McKinnon Stakes.
And at the 550-metre mark now, Ballpark, Irish Rort and Tenor, a line of 3 into the straight. Paris Lane still going for the rails run, might get it in a minute. And back behind them, Reading pulled to the outside and then Rough Habit. Paris Lane got the rails at the 400. Paris Lane hit the front, Reading coming after him with Tenor. It's Tenor and Paris Lane at the 300 from Reading, and then Excited Angel. It's Paris Lane, hands and heels from Tenor. Rough Habit on the outside, Reading struggling. Here's Jearn and Excited Angel getting through. Paris Lane still in front of Tenor, Excited Angel. Paris Lane confidently ridden. Paris Lane won it by a long neck to either Jearn or Excited Angel for the Miners.
Considering the luck of the race, there was little between Jearn and Paris Lane once again. Late on Derby Day, high-profile jockey Shane Dye had a major effect on the Cup market when he dumped Jearn in favour of his lightly weighted stablemate Coachwood. Now this allowed popular Sydney heavyweight rider Wayne Harris to take the mount on Jearn. His critics said Jearn wouldn't stay, but a gear change to pacifiers proved to be just the right remedy. 1993 Cup hero Vintage Crop had trekked halfway round the world once again in search of Staying's Holy Grail. However, all was not well as the champion Irish distance runner injured his shoulder at track work a week before the race. On the day, after trainer Dermot Well declared Vintage Crop fit and well, the visitor was the centre of a massive betting plunge which saw him firm to 9-2 favourite. With Vintage Crop, Paris Lane, Jearn and Caulfield Cup runner-up Alcove looking to be the 4 main chances, they're now under starters' orders for the $2 million 1994 Group 1 Foster's Melbourne Cup.
Light. And they're racing. To a mighty roar, Quick Ransom began quickly down on the inside. Sweet Glory gossips out, Pompeii away quickly. Vintage Crop ridden out of the stalls. Pindy's going fast. Gold Sovereign in the early stages with a presser are going forward, so too River Verdon. Alcove not too far away as they settle down. Clevedon Gale dropped out to the tail with Glastonbury. Tightly bunched as they came to the 2,800 metre mark now. Gold Sovereign working up on the outside of a presser and Sweet Glory to run to the lead. River Verdon just behind them. Quick Ransom on the rail and out Pompeii. They're followed then by Alcove, caught a little wide. Pindy just behind it, followed by Jearn, Coachwood, and then out wide Toll Bell double take. In behind those here, that Bell, followed by Grass Valley Air, Seattle Starstruck. Next is Vintage Crop over on the outside of Starstruck. He's out 3 wide at the moment. Followed further back in the field at the head of the other horses then by Top Rating over on the inside. Trailing him is Paris Lane. Major Decision on Parla Glastonbury. Clevedon Gale is last of all as the Melbourne Cup field heads out towards the riverside now. 900 left to go. Gold Sovereign the leader from Toll Bell, who got the second. Double take wide out third. Alcove is next to the outside from Oppressor. One further back, Gossip saving ground near the inside. There's Coachwood starting a run round the outside. Coachwood with its run and River Verdon coming too. Back behind those horses, Jearn and Hear That Bell. Paris Lane staking a claim wide out around the home turn. Glastonbury very deep. When they enter the straight, Quick Ransom had got shuffled out. Clevedon Gale as well back. Vintage Cropper starting his run. Round the turn of Presser, the leader. Coming after it, Double Take. Jeune near the inside. Wide out Elcove, and here comes Paris Lane. Paris Lane with his runners starting to mow them down, and so is Umpala. Umpala with a run, but Jeune hit the front. Jeune out by 2 lengths to Paris Lane. Elcove, Double Take, Umpala. Jeune the leader though. Jeune in front of Paris Lane. He's got a 2-length break. Umpala the outside. It's Jeune still in front. He's 2 lengths clear. He's holding them, and Jeune's going to win the Melbourne Cup by 2 lengths to Paris Lane. Umpala a half ahead away third. Then Double Take, Elcove followed by Hear That Bell. In behind them was Vintage Crop.
There were so many stories to emerge from this Cup, but the victory for Wayne Harris made it one of the most popular ever. Wayne's career has jolted from one tragedy to another, highlighted by a constant battle with his weight, a number of race falls, and surgery for the removal of a brain tumour. This victory truly was richly deserved. For David Hayes, it enabled him to match 2 powerful standard setters, his father Colin, who had won the race with Belldale Ball and At Tallack, and rival trainer Lee Friedman, who had won the Cup twice before him. It's also appropriate to acknowledge the contribution made to the betterment of Australian racing by Sheikh Hamdan Al Maktoum, one of the ruling family of Dubai, who first raced horses in Australia in the early 1980s and has been subsequently one of our industry's most fervent supporters. Sheikh Hamdan's Australian stars have included 1990 Horse of the Year, El Murad, as well as At Tallack, Fra, Zabil and Mahassan, and now Jeune. And we'll see later in the Australasian racing year, Jeune's winning turn was far from over. 2 days after the Cup, Australia's best 3-year-old fillies do battle in the Group 1 VRC Oaks. 1,000 Guineas winner Northwood Plume had subsequently been to Moonee Valley on Cox Plate Day and run second to Blevick in the Group 3 Amy Vars. With Blevick having confirmed the form by beating Danewin in the Victoria Derby, Northwood Plume looked a logical favourite for the Oaks.
Down the side, they're approaching the turn. Eloquent Whisper over 2 lengths in front of Bichette. Here's some runs coming around the outside. Euphoria Let Loose has come with a big run out wide. Captiva's got onto her back. She's running into it strongly. As they enter the straight, Northwood Plume with her run. They come around the turn now. Eloquent Whisper tackled firstly by Bichette, and Northwood Plume stakes a strong claim with Euphoria out wide, and now Captiva's closing. Wild Thunder's running into it as well. Northwood Plume in front of Bichette. Wild Thunder wider out. Captiva still coming. Northwood Plume at the 200 by 2 lengths to the stablemate. Captiva, Wild Thunder. Shaquille from well back. Northwood Plume in front at the 100. Broke 2 in front of Wild Thunder. And then Captiva, but it's Northwood Plume. She's racing away. Northwood Plume wins it by 3 lengths. Wild Thunder. Captiva third.
Northwood Plume proved herself the top classic filly with this excellent display. The much-awaited rematch with Danarani proved to be a non-event. This athletic military plume filly is owned by Barry and Midge Griffiths and was purchased at the Victorian Premier Yearling Sale. The final Group 1 of the Melbourne Spring Carnival is the Nissan Stakes, a handicap over the metric mile on the last day of the carnival. This year's Nissan was a wide-open affair and realistically a couple of lengths short of true Group 1 standard.
Something went wrong with Play or Pose being pulled out of the race as they swing up towards the turn now. And Monsieur left well clear at the top of the straight, about 3 lengths in front. From Primacy, Teos on the outside, Soho Square, and then Western Red. Back behind those horses, Idea. Waikika Mukau is very wide out with its run, and Seascape coming with it. Monsieur at the 300 in front of Teos. Primacy getting through. Wide out, here's Idea and Seascape. Seascape burst to the front, 250 to go. Here's Spring Theme out of the pack, and Idea battling strongly. Seascape in front of Idea, Western Red with a run and Spring Theme. Seascape and Idea at the 100. Seascape by a neck from Idea. Seascape going too well, holding on, and will it win? Yes, Seascape from Idea.
Seascape had been one of New Zealand's leading 2-year-olds the previous season, but hadn't done a lot since being transferred to David Hayes. As his 66-1 starting price suggests, the win was a surprise to almost everyone. The win gave Hayes 3 of the Cup week's big 4, the Derby, the Cup and the Nissan Stakes. A marvellous achievement for a young man in only his 5th year as a trainer.
While the carnival wound down at Flemington, across the Tasman Sea, things were just beginning to warm up. At Riccarton on November 5, New Zealand's best fillies journey south for the Group 1 1,000 guineas.
They race inside the 600 now, heading for home in the Guineas, and the leader, Au Revoir, 3 lengths in front of Moonshine, is followed by Star Scent coming at them. In behind it, Vida Darren, down the outside, Star Dead's putting it a run as well. Further back then to Queen Ripon and Luskin Lass and Tartan Tights, but with 300 metres to go, Star Scent has gone for the lead, and Star Scent on the outside, and Moonshine's trying to fight back, and Vida Darren still coming strongly the rail. Star Dead is wide around, and Tartan Tights is coming with a big finish down the outer. And it's Star Scent. Tartan Tights is bobbing them. Star Scent, but Tartan Tights. South Island has won the Guineas.
Tartan Tights is the 9th individual stakes winner to the credit of Tights, a blue-blooded Nijinsky stallion who died at Hanui Farm during the course of the 1994 season. The filly could be said to have avenged her dam, the outstanding South Island race mare Ultrasound, who won 15 races but could only finish 3rd in the 1,000 Guineas of 1987. 4 days later, it's the boys' turn, and the Colts and the Geldings do battle over the Riccarton 1,600 metre circuit in the Group 1 2,000 Guineas.
Avedon is making progress in the middle, appears to be travelling pretty well, and then 2 rupees about 4 lengths further back to Avedon, and Bonsai, not to Avedon, to the other horse, Vidadara, and Bonsai Pipeline. They head for home now, 500 metres to go, and Asahi lines them up. Asahi from St. Rautai, 2 lengths away. Here's Moonshine chiming in on the outside. Wider out on the track, Avedon's coming at them now. Bay of Biscay and 2 rupees and Vidadara. It's Asahi at the distance post, going to it, St. Rautai, but Avedon's joining them now, and look at him gallop. Avedon, the big grey, he's gone to the lead. He's making it look very simple. Avedon going down to the line to say he's kicking back with St. Rautai, and Vidadara coming late, but they went to the post and Avedon won it.
Avedon didn't leave his rivals with too many excuses at Riccarton, and it was expected to be a similar story 13 days later in the Leven Racing Club's Bayer Classic at Ataki Racecourse.
Avedon's got a little bit to do as they swing the corner in the Bayer, in the 94 Bayer, and here it is Asahi. Asahi a couple on now, Allegro comes after it, deeper out Esquire Grey. Avedon's got to be pulled right to the outside to make his run. We've got Allegro, here comes Avedon after him, Star Scent in the centre. Allegro is the leader, Avedon and Star Scent are trying to get him. Avedon, Star Scent and Allegro, but big bold Avedon. Avedon's got it, Avedon, Star Scent and Allegro.
Unfortunately, this Group 1 double for Avedon also proved to be an epitaph for a stallion, in this case Famous Star, who died later in the season. Famous Star had become a leading New Zealand sire in recent years, a far cry from his humble beginnings at the cheaper end of the stallion roster at prestigious Raroa Stud. Avedon is owned by hoteliers Ron and Hazel Spotswood and was prepared for his big wins by Patrick Campbell. For the final months of the year, the older stayers in New Zealand are steered towards just one race, the DB Auckland Cup at Ellerslie on New Year's Day. About 5 weeks earlier, many of the major protagonists find their way to the other major Auckland racetrack, Avondale, for the Group 1 Avondale Cup.
500 metres out in the Radio Pacific Avondale Cup, and the leader is Ballpark as they head for home from Just Apollo and Captain Court. In behind them to Danny Golden, they're followed by Western Red, the big chestnut coming after them. In behind them, Domingo Seeing Daylight, followed by Nelly Powell's. Inside the 250, Ballpark still in front in the cup from Just Apollo. There followed Captain Court, then we've got Darkside on the inside, Danny Gold, Ballpark in front, Just Apollo, Darkside's flashing home, Sir Kingy running on late, but Ballpark has got the cup. Ballpark first, Photo second, Just Apollo and Darkside.
Ballpark has been one of New Zealand's most consistent older gallopers, with his wins including the 1994 Easter Handicap. He's the best Australasian product of the deceased Coolmore stallion Ahunura. Ballpark was ridden by Melbourne Cup winning jockey Tony Allen and is trained at Matamata by Michael Moroney. Across in Perth, the annual Western Australian Racing Carnival gets underway with the Beat Diabetes Stakes. This 1,800 metre weight for age race has gone by a number of sponsors' names in recent years, but its list of past winners is a testament to its quality. Great gallopers like Family of Man, Sovereign Red, Kingston Town and the Mighty Vo Rogue.
Island Morn by a length from Regimental Tattoo. Danny Miller drawing the whip on the 3-year-old. Running third, Mouser around the outside, making ground is Scarlet Storm Boy, followed by Prior Engagement. Then Calypso as they swing the bend, and Pride of Rancher looking to get clear from Twist and Shout. 300 to go, Island Morn kick 2 clear. Scarlet Storm Boy, Mouser, followed by Calypso, Prior Engagement, and then Pride of Rancher, but it's Island Morn 3 lengths in front, 100 to go from Calypso and Scarlet Storm Boy. Pride of Rancho coming late, but it's all Island Morn all the way. Island Morn by 2.
That's not the last we see of this quality Western Australian front runner. On the classic scene, a 3-year-old filly named Boart had been racking up an impressive sequence of wins, including the Tattersalls Cup and Western Australian Oaks. Her Oaks victory was so dominating that she earned her place in the Western Australian Derby at Ascot on December 26th.
Boart taken wide to get clear as they come up to the 500, being followed then by Tudor Red, North Island Filthy, Luca Heed the Toll, Regimental Tattoo and Steve Siege, but 450 to go, and Twist and Shout joined on the bend by Steel Trap going up wide from Mystery to Me, then King of Saxony. Boart looms up 5 and 6 wide, in behind them Vulnerable as they corner from Cloudy Bay and Bronte Story. Boart at the 200 and King of Saxony settle down to fight it out 5 lengths to Bronte Story. It's Boart and King of Saxony. Boart a half head in front. King of Saxony lifting. King of Saxony. Boart stride for stride. Boart a nose from King of Saxony.
A marvellous staying performance by this talented filly. At that stage of her career, Boart had won 7 of her 14 starts, including 5 at 8 as a 3-year-old. The filly is bred and raced by Multiplex Constructions, the company of former WATC chairman John Roberts.
Logan's for horse insurance. Logan's lead the way in all types of thoroughbred insurance and are on call 24 hours. Most of Australia and New Zealand's leading stud masters and owners rely on Logan's for their insurance requirements. Principal Bob Logan is well known and respected throughout the industry. Logan's, always on the scene, so you'll never be in a spot. Ring the experts. Logan's. Their 24-hour hotline number is 02 909 1499. More than 4,000 kilometres away at Ellerslie, New Zealand's biggest week of racing gets underway with the Derby meeting on Boxing Day, December 26. As we've already seen, Avedon was dominant in the 2,000 guineas and the Bayer Classic. But there was a legitimate query over this colt's capacity to get the classic distance of 2,400 metres, bearing in mind his sprinting pedigree. Keep an eye on the grey, Look Who's Talking, in the pink and green colours, who's restrained back to near last in the early stages.
They're across the top in the Derby. They're followed by Del Coronado, Rainbow Brave, Cataldo. Then Look Who's Talking. Magic View came next to St. Rautai. 2 then to Rendezvous, and 5 lengths away to Count Chivas, who's at the tail of the field, running towards the bend. 500 out in the New Zealand Herald Derby, and the leader is Icing Glass from Bazza View. On the inside, the Blue View moved off the fence, then Maxim. In behind them, Avedon making ground from Fewer Chosen. Cataldo swept around the outside. Bazza View hit the front of the Derby at the 300 from Maxim. There followed Avedon coming after them with Allegro. Then we've got Look Who's Talking, Fewer Chosen and Cataldo. Rendezvous down the outside. Avedon, Look Who's Talking, Fewer Chosen, Cataldo. On the inside, Avedon just veered out. Look Who's Talking on the outside levelled. Look Who's Talking, Avedon fighting back. Look Who's Talking and Grant Cooksey. Look Who's Talking has won the Derby from Avedon. Third photos, we've got Cataldo or Rainbow Brave.
The Derby victory was a real international affair. Look Who's Talking was selected as a yearling by agent Anton Kuhlman, now based in Sydney, for a group of Hong Kong businessmen who race as the Unifaith Syndicate. The result was a career highlight for trainer Nigel Tiley, who only retired from race riding 18 months previously, after a successful career in New Zealand, Australia, Singapore and Hong Kong. The Derby picture was completed with yet another perfect Grant Cooksley Group 1 ride. The Melbourne Cup may be the race that stops a nation in Australia. In New Zealand, its counterpart is the Auckland Cup, run over 3,200 metres at Ellerslie on New Year's Day.
Looking to improve, Royal Tiara up and around Cool Reception and Eurostar. They're fair sprinting now. 2 lengths to Ligero, followed by Cairo, Popsy, and then Dark Side, and the Hunter dropped away. Round towards the point of the turn, 450 to go. Don't Connor Con claimed on the outside by Just Apollo, who went to the front of the cup. Here's Chargy Glass out after it, followed by Captain Court, Brilliant Venture. All in Fun and Royal Tiara's winding up. Here's the 2 favourites, Ligero, and down the extreme outside is Popsy. All in Fun's in front of the DB Draft Auckland Cup of 95. Royal Tiara and Popsy kicking on, followed by Ligero. All in Fun in front. Here's Royal Tiara, slowly but surely wearing it down, and Popsy's flashing home. Royal Tiara, Popsy, All in Fun. Royal Tiara's got the DB Draft Auckland Cup of 95. Popsy second, All in Fun third.
A fairy tale result for 18-year-old apprentice Sarah Campbell, prevailing in a tight finish over New Zealand's champion rider Lance O'Sullivan. There's an interesting international aspect to Royal Tiara's pedigree, which makes her truly unique in this part of the world. Her dam, Maganyos, was bred in Hungary, and her 10 wins ranged from 1,200 metres to 3,000 metres, including the Derby in Switzerland, stakes races in France and Germany, and hurdle races in England and France. If the Auckland Cup is the ultimate race for a New Zealand stayer, then the pinnacle for a sprinter is the Group 1 Railway Handicap, run over 1,200 metres on the same program.
Quad Railway Handicap field racing. And away they go from the 1200 and Red Cent pounds quickly on the inside to lead out Coburger and Ensign Newitt. Solution made a good beginning, as did Status Wider out now, and they're followed out then by Paula. In behind them came Lord Phoenix down on the inside, then to Ali Fiesta on the outside of it is Furbolg. 2 lengths on Lord Trident, they're followed down on the inside then by Maybe So. Ferragamo's making ground up and around that pair and facing the music. Drop to the rear, 15 off the pace. Red Cent, the light-weighted runner, took the pace a length and a quarter. Coburger right on the steel inside Newitt from Solution, travelling nicely on the outer. A length and a half to Status, followed by Lord Phoenix on the outside, Furbolg and then Paula. There's Ferragamo whipping up and around runners, followed by Lord Trident as they run to the bend. Ali Fiesta, Maybe So, and facing the music. Homeward bound in the DB Draft Super Quad Railway Handicap, and doing pace where Coburger moved up alongside to take the lead off Red Cent. They're followed by Solution, been asked the question by Di, not going at all, in fact being pulled up in the race. Somebody's gone to miss the favourite. Coburger's kick cleared out from Red Cent and inside Newitt. Lord Trident flashing home Furbolg and Status. It's all over. The DB Draft Super Quad Railway Handicap to Coburger. Inside Newitt flashed up to second. Lord Trident third, followed by Red Cent.
No doubt about the result here, with Coburger going right on with his excellent summer form to beat the proven sprinters Lord Trident and Ensign Newitt. Coburger is the 11th stakes winner and 5th individual Group 1 winner, sired by Famous Star. The 4-year-old was winning for the 6th time from only 11 starts for the Matter father and son team of Jim and Chris Gibbs. 2 days after the Auckland Cup and Railway Handicap, Ellerslie hosted the Auckland Classic, one of the country's most important weight-for-age races.
At the 600 in the Auckland Classic, and Solvit's travelling extra 3/4 to Western Red. On the inside to Ballpark, Lord Majestic. Then we've got Star Dancer, Skyfly's going to make its run wide, and Prince Zephyr into the straight, 450 to go, and it's Solvit. Lined up this Auckland Classic field by a length. On the outside, Western Red. Here's sprinting now and exploding towards the leaders, Star Dancer. They're followed by Ballpark looking for racing room, but Star Dancer's kicked out, and it's away by 2 or 3 lengths over Solvit. Ballpark is getting clear late, but it's all over. At the 100, the Group 1 Auckland Classic going to Star Dancer with Grant Cooksby aboard. Just a flick of the stick over the shoulder, and Star Dancer 4 lengths at the line from Ballpark second, Lord Majestic third, then Solvit weakened to fourth.
The Auckland Classic continued an outstanding summer carnival for Grant Cooksby, who is based full-time in Sydney, but likes nothing better than riding a Group 1 winner on his home soil. Star Dancer is prepared by Bruce Wallace, one of New Zealand's most outstanding young training talents. The New Zealand Racing Carnival moves south to Trentham in the second half of January for the Wellington Racing Club's time-honoured Wellington Cup Carnival. The Group 1 sprinters who featured in Ellerslie's Railway Stakes traditionally seek a rematch in the Group 1 Telegraph Handicap.
Status a little bit deep around runners. Then we have the next Present Arms, crisp and clear back. The outside of it, Lord Trident and Snap. She's the last as they travel up towards the 650, and Gypsy is the leader. Gypsy leads now from Atlantic Brave, who's away from the fence to challenge her on the outside. Deeper out, Panagold, Rough Harbour very wide to the turn. Furbolg, Rampage back and behind them, then Saxon Vale, Al Akbar. Into the straight though in the Telegraph, and here Atlantic Brave goes up to Gypsy, who fightens again. And then we have Panagold, Rampage and behind them. Al Akbar angled out for a run. Saxon Vale and Snapper held up back and behind them. It's Atlantic Brave, Rampage trying to get out, and then we've got Panagold. Saxon Vale can't get a crack. Outright, Lord Trident flying. Rampage in front. Lord Trident the top weight, and Saxon Vale the top. He's got it. Lord Trident, Tony Allen, victory salute at the line. Rampage, Saxon Vale.
The term champion is dreadfully overworked in racing and has been given to many horses of less ability and consistency than Lord Trident. This son of Ardsley Stud's versatile sire, Lord Belliner, was New Zealand's champion 2-year-old of season 89-90 and has been a Group 1 competitor in every season since. The Telegraph was Lord Trident's 3rd Group 1 win and his 12th overall, with prize money now exceeding 400,000 New Zealand dollars. The New Zealand Oaks is one of the most important races on the calendar for the country's important thoroughbred industry. As we saw earlier in the 1,000 guineas at Riccarton, the best 3-year-old filly of the season so far, unquestionably, was Tartan Tights,
Back and behind them then is Luskin Lass. They're followed by Tartan Tights. Rampage Queen, a packing field of the Oaks, and Skagway was the last. Something wrong with Annie Haynes. Broken gear. Into the straight in the Oaks, and Marnie's Magic from Mandate after it, strongly over on the outside. Wider out then Glowing Heights getting into the clear, and Sneetch is coming home strongly. Glowing Heights ranged up and hit the front. Glowing Heights now. Rampage Queen coming after it. Tartan Tights looking to get into the clear, and Sneetch over on the inside. We've got Glowing Heights. He is the Southern Star. Tartan Tights getting home strongly. Tartan Tights out wide, and the Oaks goes to the South Island. Tartan Tights has beaten Glowing Heights Rampage Queen.
Tartan Tights once again scored with authority, making her an automatic choice for Filly of the Year. For the second successive year, the 1,000 Guineas winner had completed the classic double, with the O'Sullivan-trained Snap having carried it off in 1994. At 250,000 New Zealand dollars, the Wellington Cup shares top billing with the Auckland Cup as New Zealand's richest Group 1 race. In 1995, much of the promotion of the Wellington Cup had centred around the engagement of Melbourne's champion jockey Damien Oliver for the South Island 4-year-old Ed, a solid stayer named after New Zealand's legendary mountaineer Sir Edmund Hillary.
Lord Majestic and Cool Reception start to make their runs. Back and behind them, All in Fun looking to get away from the fence. Ed's now rolling around the field. Mr. Cash and Moray. Torbo goes forward. Friendly Henry's going back. Then Kathy Dream. Further away is GG Royale. Royal Tiara's got a bit of work to do, as to Noble Task and Prince Ikato coming up to the corner. And here Lord Majestic went around and hit the front. Ed's after him over on the outside. Levels up now. Ed and Lord Majestic. All in Fun into the clear. And yes, indeed, down the outside, it's Ed the leader. Ed's a length and a half on Yes, indeed, coming out after it now. All in Fun between them's fighting on well. Ed in front. He's a length clear. Yes, indeed's trying to reach him. But the pride of the South Island and Damien Oliver wins the Wellington Cup, and Ed's gone on to win from second over Yes, indeed.
The script went perfectly for the connections of Ed, and of course was a promotional dream come true for the Wellington Racing Club. Ed is the second Group 1 2-miler sired by the Japan Cup winner Half Iced, the other being last year's Brisbane Cup hero Skyfly. The big metric miles like the Doncaster and the Epsom are an important part of Australian racing, and it's no different in New Zealand. The first of the Kiwis 1600s is the Thorndon Mile at Trentham on January 28.
Still Al Akbar is the leader. From second is the favourite Frenetic. Endless Joy over on the inside. Brero to Gold Cup goes forward. Silver Chalice back over on the inside. 1.5 last Scala at the 600. They are followed by Comanche Boy, Wilbury Star, Placido, Pakaraka Star. Didn't pick that up earlier. It's now last barring Zorro, who's well out of it into the straight. And Al Akbar is the leader. Frenetic, the favourite, goes after him strongly. Endless Joy in behind them. Silver Chalice is now starting to run on with Gold Cup. Al Akbar is the leader. Silver Chalice comes home strongly, and then we've got Frenetic between them. Silver Chalice went up to Al Akbar. Look at Endless Joy get home over on the inside. Silver Chalice is the leader. Endless Joy comes home strongly over on the inside. Little between them, and at the line, head up, head down, I don't know. Very close between Endless Joy and Silver Chalice.
This was the 5th win in 21 starts for Silver Chalice, but the mare was unable to run up to that form during an autumn campaign in Melbourne. A special mention here for the effort of 18-year-old apprentice Sarah Campbell, who we witnessed earlier winning the Auckland Cup on Royal Tiara. 2 Group 1 wins in the same season for such a young rider augurs well for a promising career. While New Zealand's summer of group racing was in full swing, the 2-year-olds on both sides of the Tasman were limbering up for the rich autumn contests in Melbourne and Sydney. At Trentham, the $250,000 Magic Millions Classic gave us a look at a young sprinter that carried the reputation of being New Zealand's best 2-year-old ever.
Racing in the Magic Millions. Slow out then was Michelob, has got back a bit at the jump, and another to get back as well. D Talento and Mercury Vapor's going to settle back. Beginning quickly as usual now is going to be Our Maze K. He's away quickly. Up over on the outside though, going up is going to be Santara. Right with those runners, Paquin. As to Eternal Luck go Roger out deeper. Parker Raban, Seattle Gem behind them. Magic McGinty, Go Jack. One around those runners a little bit deeper out is followed back then by Kentucky. Big Twister
Aerosmith, wide out Katrina Bell, Mercury Vapor back on the inside of Michelob. Simply Superb's a fair way back coming up towards the corner as to Di Talento. They swing the corner now and he's in front, Our Maze K. Our Maze K straightens up about 3 to 4 lengths clear now from Magic McGinty. Kentucky back behind them. Paquin runs on. Santara out into the centres, getting home well then Mercury Vapor. Philip Mercer working on Our Maze K, but he's 6 lengths in front of Kentucky. Further away back behind them then we've got Mercury Vapor, but Our Maze K, one of the best 2-year-olds we've ever seen in the land, draws right away, and Our Maze K's taken the Ford New Zealand Magic Millions. Mercury Vapor, Kentucky.
VOBIS, the Victorian Owners and Breeders Incentive Scheme. And that's exactly what it is. An incentive for owners to buy Victorian thoroughbreds. VOBIS means cash bonuses to owners, breeders, trainers and jockeys. VOBIS, keeping Victoria ahead of the rest. Tommy Smith, Colin Hayes and Bart Cummings, Australia's trio of record-breaking trainers. The reason for their success and much more is revealed on Raceplay's latest video, Dominators. Phone now and place your order for Dominators.
After the Melbourne Cup Carnival, most of the top horses head to pasture for a short break before being focused on the autumn riches in Sydney and Melbourne. Australia's first Group 1 of the new year is what used to be known as the William Reid Stakes, now titled the Australia Stakes. This 1,200-metre race is conducted by the Moonee Valley Racing Club, but was held at Flemington while the Moonee Valley track was under reconstruction.
As they came to the crossing here, I reckon Hariba with a narrow lead. Out on the grandstand, Scalacci and Sequalo in front of Spanish Mix, Belzavia, Blue Boss and Never Under Charge. Hariba coming to the 500 has a good lead over Primacy, going to second from Durbridge and Paris Lane. Out on the grandstand, it's Sequalo in front now from Scalacci and Spanish Mix, but it's Hariba the leader, I think, at the 300. Marshall says, let's go, big fella, and Hariba the leader over on the flat side, nicely clear. It's Hariba well in front of Sequalo and Scalacci, but Hariba passes 100, a dazzling performance, a mile in front, and the brilliant Hariba scores brilliantly by 5. Spanish Mix, Scalacci just got third from Sequalo, Belzavia, Primacy.
Mere words failed to do Hariba's win justice. The outside section of the Flemington track was definitely faster, yet Hariba came along the inside rail and absolutely destroyed his opposition with an exhibition of power sprinting that will live long in the memories of those fortunate enough to witness it. The acknowledged ratings expert Mark Reed claims this was the highest rating performance by any thoroughbred in Australia in almost a decade, matched only by our international champion Better Loosen Up in the 1991 Australian Cup. At Sandown on February 11, the Melbourne Cup hero Jeune returned to racing in the Group 1 CF4 Stakes.
Blue Boss a length and a quarter to Primacy second, Scalacci waiting for the run on the inside, Hurricane Sky pushed out 3 wide. Belzavia comes 4 wide round the turn and then Spanish Mix and Never Under Charge. Jeune got off the fence, Paris Lane and he's outside. Blue Boss at the 300, about a length in front, Scalacci trying desperately to get out of a pocket. Hurricane Sky racing up to Blue Boss, Scalacci chopped out of it, then Never Under Charge. Here's Jeune descending on them very quickly. The Cup winner raced to the front of the last 100, racing away from Hurricane Sky. Then came Scalacci, but it's all Jeune, and Jeune returns to the track brilliantly by 3 lengths. Third of the minors, Hurricane Sky or Scalacci.
A stunning performance there by Jeune, accelerating away like a top horse in the final 200 metres. We must also acknowledge a masterly piece of training here by David Hayes. Jeune had won the Melbourne Cup in the first week of November and then flown to Tokyo for the Japan Cup, in which he was most unlucky. The horse then had to go through all the usual quarantine procedures to return to Australia. Yet he had the audacity to crush a top field first up at the unsuitable distance of 1,400 metres. Back in the spring, a beautifully bred colt named Baryshnikov came to Melbourne on a hit-and-run visit to take the Group 2 Sandown Guineas. His trainer, the Sydney-based Kerry Jordan, forecast then that Baryshnikov would be back in the autumn to tackle the Group 1 Cadbury Australian Guineas at Flemington.
Easing to the outside is Blevick for his run, and Baryshnikov back on the rail. St Covert turned into the straight, the leader. Hurricane Sky up to challenge him at the 400-metre mark. Wider out Don Pasquale, and then Dry Humour, Baryshnikov, and Blevick is last of all with 250 to go. St Covert and Hurricane Sky the leaders. Baryshnikov going for the rail, and Don Pasquale. St Covert and Hurricane Sky being tackled on the rail by Baryshnikov. Baryshnikov, St Covert, Hurricane Sky, a line of 3. Baryshnikov, Hurricane Sky, Baryshnikov got up on the rail and has won it from Hurricane Sky, and those away third is St Covert.
An inspired ride from Jim Cassidy made the difference between a classic victory and an honourable defeat. Baryshnikov is the latest Group 1 winner by Arrowfield Stud's great sire Kenmare, and is half-brother to Zabeel, who beat Arc Regal and Starley Century in this very race 5 years earlier.
Before we continue with the Melbourne Autumn Carnival, it's important to look at two major races in New Zealand. The Cambridge Jockey Club's February meeting at Te Rapa Racecourse has become increasingly important in recent years. Their showcase race is the Cambridge International Stakes, a Group 1 over 2,000 metres at weight for age.
800 metres out now, and Walsh gives Solbit more rain, and he sneaks away 2.5, the WS Cox Plate winner. Lord Major running second at this point via Suez, then followed All in Fun becoming prominent. The Phantom still on the outside. A length and a half back to Captain Court, then Lord Majestic, followed by Quidado, and Frequent is last of all. Up towards the turn they come, 500 metres to go, and Solbit the leader. A half length clear from via Suez, and the Phantom works round 3 wide. A length and a half away, All in Fun looking for the rails run, and will get it to as Solbit moved off the rail. Homeward bound they are, 350 metres to go, Solbit, but I think All in Fun's taken it very quickly. Out wide of the Phantoms, battling from Quidado, then followed by Via Suez. 250 to go, it's All in Front, the leader. Out by 2.5 and hard to catch. Quidado's running on, so too is Frequent, then Solbit only battling. The Phantom can't do it, but it's All in Front, and Jimmy Collett being punched out, and All in Front wins the Cambridge Stud International Stakes. Third at the line was Quidado, second Quidado, then Frequent.
A popular win to one of New Zealand's most genuine and consistent gallopers. All in Fun has now won 11 races from just 34 starts across 4 seasons of competition, including a trip to Australia, where he was placed in the 1994 BMW at Rose Hill. The winning rider was Jim Collett. Here is a field Australian racegoers will recognise. The Waikato Draft Sprint is run the same afternoon as the Cambridge International and is one of New Zealand's 2 Group 1 races conducted over 1,400 metres at weight for age. The two to dominate discussions were last season's Dual Classic winner Snap and the brilliant but unsound Calm Harbour, for 2 years touted as the best horse in the country.
Down the side, 600 metres out in the Waikato Draft Sprint, and the pacemaker is Ferragamo. Leads a half length on Snap, poised to pounce, then followed round by Al Akbar. Javelin works round on the outside. Calm Harbour is next, being niggled out a little, followed by Silver Chalice, then followed round by Dan Jiki as they come into the straight. Further back, Weekend Warrior, Lord Trident couldn't win. They head for home, 350 metres to go, and Snap's levelled up now to take the lead from Ferragamo. About 3 away to Javelin, wider out Calm Harbour. I think he's too far off them. Snap's taken the lead. Fulani in second spot. On the inside is Ferragamo, then Silver Chalice. Calm Harbour wider out with Javelin. Ferragamo's coming back at Snap. Snap still in front though, she's holding Ferragamo, and Snap, the honeymoon didn't do him any harm, did it? It Snap won it for Lance. Second at the line was Ferragamo, third over Calm Harbour.
That made 10 wins from just 18 starts for Snap, who has now won at Group 1 level at 2, 3 and 4 years of age. The victory was also a stimulus to international involvement in New Zealand racing, because Snap is part owned by Lord Tavistock. New Zealand's other 1,400 metre weight for age race is run just 11 days later at Otaki. The Terrace Regency Stakes has been a quality race over a number of years and is frequently a pointer to valuable autumn races in Sydney.
Try bends. He works towards the corner, still 5 lengths clear from second Country Talk. Inside New at the outside, Ted Zero the inside. Here's Allegro off and after the leader now, and around them Avedon, Javelin, Saxon Vales the last. They've closed pretty quickly as they straighten up, and Allegro shot to the front in the Terrace Regency. From over on the outside, Inside Newitt, and Avedon's now starting to run home strongly the outside. Further away, Country Talk, it's Allegro the leader. Allegro down to the 150 from Inside Newitt, Avedon on the outsides of the track. But Allegro, Group 1 win coming up for Allegro, and he'll get it by nearly 2 lengths. Inside Newitt second, Avedon's run third.
Allegro and Avedon met again at Trentham on March 5, the occasion being the Captain Cook Stakes over 1,600 metres. Their clash with the Telegraph winner Lord Trident was one of the highlights of the New Zealand autumn.
Coming up to the corner, they've got 600 metres to travel, and Lord Majestic doing it okay on top. From Allegro the run, Random Choice the outside. He's asked to go forward now. Calm Harbour, then Lord Trident back in behind them. They swing in. Lord Majestic, Allegro's away the fence to go after him now. Calm Harbour over on the outside's coming home strongly, and then we've got Covered in Grey, Avedon all over the place for a run. Allegro hit the front here. Allegro in front from Lord Majestic, who tries to come back over on the inside. Allegro a length in front of Lord Lord Majestic, Lord Trident, Avedon, Prime, but another Group 1 for Allegro. 3-year-olds, Quinetta and Allegro's beaten Avedon, Lord Majestic, Lord Trident, and over on the outside, Calm Harbour.
Allegro had lived in the shadow of the dual Group 1 winner Avedon for much of the season, but had his moment in the spotlight here. Both Allegro and Avedon earned their Sydney airfares here and confirmed themselves among the leading members of their generation. New Zealand hosted just one more Group 1 for the season, the Trackside Sales Stakes at Ellerslie.
As they run towards the 550, and with it now is Real Success and Brilliant Venture going for the rails run. As they work towards a turn in the Trackside Sales Stakes, the leader is Captain Court. Rounds the corner a length and a half clear from Fewer Chosen and Via Suez, covered in grey, starting to come home pretty well. And here's Quidado winding up out in centre track, and they're followed by Sharton Heights. Captain Court kept going by Trudy Collard at the 250, kicked out 2.5 lengths and hard to get from Quidado. They're followed in behind him, Fewer Chosen, covered in grey. Captain Court coming back to them. Quidado's moving up alongside. Captain Court fighting like a tiger from Quidado. Captain Court's day has beaten Quidado 2 lengths away, the favourite. Fewer Chosen third.
Before we return to Brian for a review of the major autumn racing in Australia, let's cross to Ascot in West Australia for Perth's only Group 1 race for the 2-year-olds, the $150,000 Karrakatta Plate.
At the 500 metres, and Harbour's working hard the lead from Actung Baby and Comic Dame. A length and a half, Tell Me Straight, getting up to 4th on the inside, followed by Not On Friday, French Label. Wide goes Daney Boy as they corner, followed by Hadji into the straight from Nirvana Boy, our cutie, Cos Leader and Brad Sun. 2:50 to go, and Actung Baby dash to the front, but here comes Tell Me Straight and Daney Boy. Look at Daney Boy wide out, race up and race clear from Tell Me Straight. Hadji, Brad Sun coming with My Fago. Daney Boy butt in front, and Daney Boy wins the money from Tell Me Straight and Hadji.
An incredible training feat by one of Perth's best mentors, Wally Mitchell, whose top gallopers over the last decade include the great Placid Art. Daney Boy had his first start just 7 days before the Karrakatta and put up tremendous performances to win both races. And yes, another Group 1 winner to his amazing sire, Danehill.
You really know the Melbourne Autumn Carnival is underway when Lightning Stakes comes around. This traditional weight-for-age contest up the famous Flemington Straight has a history rich in superior winners. The 1995 Lightning promised so much, with the brilliant Hariba engaged, as well as the first-up appearance of the 1994 Horse of the Year, Mahogany.
Racing, Hariba began well with Sequalo on the outside. Elenon began quickly. Mahogany jumped away okay as well, and Keltree's Brawny Spirit jumped into stride pretty well. They go through the first 150 metres now, and it's Brawny Spirit on the rail. Keltree's is outside, deeper out Sequalo and Hariba 4 deep on their outside. Just about a line of 4 right across the track there. Elenon in behind them from Fighter Bay, then Mahogany, and last of all as they settle fully into stride, Auntie Mary. Running to the 500 metre mark now, and Hariba under a tight rein has gone up to join Sequalo. Keltree's Brawny Spirit on the rail. 2 lengths behind them, then Elenon called on, and they're followed then by Mahogany under a bit of pressure at the 300 metre mark now, and it's on the outside Hariba. He's calling on him to do something, sticking with him there on the outside is Elenon. In fact, he's in trouble, Hariba. Elenon's claimed him, and Mahogany now, and Keltree's fighting back. No Hariba, it's a shock. It's Mahogany dashing to the front, and Mahogany scores. Mahogany's beaten Elenon. Third is Keltree's.
A sensational performance by Mahogany and a superb comeback ride by Mick Dittman, whose career in the saddle had taken 2nd place during the illness of his wife Maureen. The Lightning also confirmed the quality and reputation of Mahogany, because not many horses can win Group 1 races at 1,000 metres and 2,500 metres as this fellow has done. The Lightning Stakes is the first leg of the Triple Crown for sprinters in Melbourne. However, it takes a special kind of horse to win all 3, because the second leg occurs just 6 days later at Caulfield, the Group 1 Oakley Plate.
And a clear last is Carptingly. It's Daring Ombre on the outside, a narrow leader at the 800 metre mark. Going up on the inside is Barcurra, between them Sequalo. They make a line of 3. 2 lengths Procrastinate. Keltree's on the rail, and then Elenon. A length and a half the heavyweight Hero Win, Poetic King. Then Pride of the Force, followed by Fighter Bay, Royal Discard and Carptingly last of all. 8 lengths covered them. Coming up towards the turn, Barcurra, Sequalo, the 2 leaders. From Daring Ombre, Procrastinate. Waiting for the run, Keltree's. Elenon wide out coming around them, and then the heavyweight
and Poetic King a fair way back round the turn. Sequalo, Barcara turn together. 2 lengths to Keltreese. Poetic King getting up on the inside. Ellen on the heavyweight are winding up out wide. Sequalo at the 150, tackled by Keltreese. Poetic King is barging through the heavyweight wide out with Carptingly. Sequalo grabbed by Keltreese. The heavyweight coming and Carptingly is flying. It'll get there, Carptingly. Carptingly has flashed home and has won it.
A fitting reward here for some visionary planning on the part of trainer David Hall and jockey Alf Matthews. Captingly had run second to the brilliant Hariba at Flemington in the spring and therefore fully deserved this Group 1 triumph. Captingly was sold as a yearling by Russell Warwick's Westbury Farm, Cambridge, New Zealand. Melbourne's premier race for 2-year-olds is the Blue Diamond Stakes at Caulfield. Most racing people felt this year's Blue Diamond Stakes fell short of the standard of previous years, but perhaps, with the benefit of hindsight, we may judge it more kindly.
2 lengths further back in the field is Donor, Flying Spur second last, and Principality last. They're burning along towards the 600. Tuscany Flyer the outside. Zedrich got up along the inside, about a neck away second. 2 lengths back is Tennessee Magic, Wonder Padre, then El Cahira's Son, Frosty the Snowman drops out. Homestead the rail from Shaded. Further back, Flying Spur is a long way back again, hanging around the home turn. And then Principality, Donor, Tuscany Flyer, led 2 lengths into the straight. Zedrich had to check across his heels. Comes out after him now. Tennessee Magic running a good race, and then Padre and further back Principality, Flying Spur, Tuscany Flyer in front. Zedrich coming at him, Tuscany Flyer from Zedrich. Here's Principality. Principality swamping Tuscany Flyer, and Principality drives away. Principality bolts in. Second went to Flying Spur. I think Tuscany Flyer just held third in a photo.
Principality may have been at big odds for the Blue Diamond, but the win was certainly no fluke. This colt is by the same sire as the former champion 2-year-old Terce, and really put it all together here after trainer David Hayes elected to use blinkers for the first time. Mahogany's first up win in the Lightning Stakes and Jean's explosive victory in the Orr Stakes were 2 of autumn's most memorable moments. Both horses were aimed towards the Futurity Stakes at Caulfield, a race promoted as a clash of the Titans. But how many Titans?
At to the railway side they go, and Scalacci 3/4 in front of Mahogany, never undercharged third the outside, and Snap with a lovely trail fourth the fence. There followed Spanish Mix, Pride of Rancho. Back behind them Soho Square, Jean is last of all, spotting the leader about 6 lengths. Running to the 600, it's Scalacci bowling along in front. Mahogany though edging a little closer, he's within 3/4 of his stablemate, never undercharged, trap 3 wide, 1 Snap. Then came Spanish Mix, Pride of Rancho feeling the pressure from Soho Square. Jean last of all got a little check off the heels of one in front there. Up to the turn, Mahogany up level now with Scalacci around the turn, never undercharged behind them. Then Spanish Mix and Snap and Jean spotting Mahogany 5. At the top of the straight now, Dittman goes for Mahogany. Scalacci sticks on very gamely. It's Mahogany about a neck in front. Scalacci's fighting back. Scalacci again with his head in front of Mahogany. Wider out, then Spanish Mix and Jean. It's Scalacci in front of Mahogany. Jean motoring, but Scalacci's won it again. Scalacci's won it. I think Jean got second from Mahogany in a photo.
This was one of racing's most emotional moments in season 94-95. Scalacci had been a Group 1 competitor now for 4 successive seasons, though he never quite recaptured the blockbusting form which saw him win 4 Group 1s in the autumn of 1992. The grey was perfectly ridden here by Rod Griffiths, giving him a Group 1 double on Blue Diamond Day, and the trainer is Australia's acknowledged Group 1 genius, Lee Freedman. 7 days after the Futurity, the best sprinters assembled at Flemington for the Newmarket Handicap. Putters were prepared to forgive the shock Lightning Stakes defeat of Hariba and sent the gelding out favourite at 7-4.
Over on the flat now, and Hariba right up there with the leaders here. Hariba just in front of Moss Rocket, and those on the flat side are a long way in front of the grandstand horses. Hariba in front of Moss Rocket, Royal Discard. In behind them is Keltreese, followed further back in the field, Sequalo. A gap, All Our Mob, Pay the Kings, and further back in the field, then at the head of the other horses, I Love Sydney. Hariba down towards the 300, kicked out by a length and a half. Out on the grandstand, Poetic King, and the heavyweight are battling it out, but I think it's the flat at the 200-metre mark. It's Hariba under the whip. Moss Rocket is coming after him quickly. Hariba in front, he has to fight. He's a half a length to Moss Rocket, and All Our Mob is swamping them. All Our Mob flies over the top, and All Our Mob gets up to win it. All Our Mob from a photo. Hariba, I think, second from Moss Rocket.
The ratings experts declared that if Hariba ran right up to his form, nothing could beat him. The truth about this year's Newmarket is that Hariba ran right up to his form, and All Our Mob beat him anyway. A major training triumph here for Gay Waterhouse, the daughter of training legend T.J. Smith, and another superb Group 1 exhibition from jockey Wayne Harris. Jeun's flying second to Scalacci in the Futurity Stakes assured him of starting at odds-on favourite in the $650,000 Group 1 Australian Cup.
Salford out by about 4 lengths now to Our Pompeii, who's dug up by Lester Pickett chasing into second. Durbridge moving up on the outside as they came to the turn, and Station Hand running into it wider out on the course. They were followed by Starstruck and Oppressor when they entered the straight. Now Jeune having a bumping duel there with Lord Majestic. He has got into the clear though at the 400. Oh, Salford punctured. Durbridge went straight past him. Durbridge in front now. Station Hand issues the threat, and 3 lengths back is Jeune starting to come with Starstruck. Station Hand and Durbridge at the 200 lead 2 lengths to Starstruck and Jeune, who are closing. Now Starstruck hits the front. Starstruck in the centre of the leader from Jeune, Station Hand. Jeune coming after Starstruck. Starstruck, Jeune, a bobbing go. Starstruck has won it.
This surely was one of the upsets of the year, with the good Western Australian handicapping mare out-toughing the Wait for Age star Jeune. The critics found flaws with Jeune, and some even found cause to fault Wayne Harris, all of which meant Starstruck failed to attract the recognition this performance deserved. Blue Diamond first and second, Principality and Flying Spur, backed up a week later in the Group 1 Vobis Sires Produce Stakes at Flemington. Although both races are for 2-year-olds at set weights, the 1400 metres of the Sires means this race is usually run at an entirely different tempo, often leading to an upset result. In 1995, astute Flemington trainer Gerald Ryan avoided the Blue Diamond with his promising colt Lockray and waited in ambush with a fresh horse on the scene.
At the 800, Concur just the leader. El Kahira's son sitting on his outside. One further back is Lockray, who eased back a little there. Flying Spur got up on his inside, so Debonair, having no luck, is caught very wide coming to the turn. Tallulah touch back on the inside, and they're followed by Donar. Then Backgammon, and Principality is last into the straight, as he was in the Blue Diamond. Concur at the 500 led into the straight. Concur about a length in front. Coming after him, El Kahira's son. Tallulah touch just behind them. Lockray under the whip. Flying Spur in on the fences under pressure, and running on Donar from Backgammon and Principality out wide at the 250 metre mark, and Lockray loomed up to go to the lead. Donar threatening immediately. Then El Kahira's son. Principality not in it. It's Lockray in front. Donar coming after it. It's Lockray about half a length in front of Donar, trying hard, but Lockray is going powerfully, and Lockray wins the size half a length to Donar. Flying Spur a length away third, and then El Kahira's son a gap Backgammon.
The 1994 Sires Produce winner was Blevick, who went on to win the Victoria Derby in the spring. This year's winner, Lockray, may also be in line for classic honours, because it's doubtful if we saw a 2-year-old colt of stronger classic potential all season. There was a strange twist here. Premier trainer David Hayes prepared Blevick, but this year played an unexpected role as the breeder of Lockray.
The Victorian Racing Calendar, published monthly and carrying vital information to the racing professional. This is a proven advertising success. It gets results because it goes directly to, and most importantly, is read by your target market. For all advertising inquiries, contact Julian Sullivan on 03 863 7333. Logan's for horse insurance. Logan's lead the way in all types of thoroughbred insurance and are on call 24 hours. Most of Australia and New Zealand's leading studmasters and owners rely on Logan's for their insurance requirements. Principal Bob Logan is well known and respected throughout the industry. Logan's, always on the scene, so you'll never be in a spot. Ring the experts. Logan's. Their 24-hour hotline number is 02 909 1499.
Australian racing is like a national circuit of group races. If the ultimate is Melbourne in the spring, then Sydney in the autumn is surely a close second. The carnival had some quality curtain raisers in February, but moved into full stride at the Warwick Farm meeting on March the 11th with the running of the Chipping Norton Stakes.
The leader, Pharaoh, over Cito Flowery in second. Big Dreams is third. March Hare taking closer order. A length and a half further back, Arborea, followed by Umpala near the fence, striking Gold out wide, losing ground. Pearl Prince dropping off, and then Air Seattle, followed by Golden Sword, Irish Rort, Telesto well back, and Stay Tuned last as they turn for home. Into the straight, Pharaoh, the leader, is clear of Big Dreams, the first to go after him, and then Umpala, Telesto making ground near the fence, wider out. Air Seattle is starting to hit top gear. He's going to come with a rush. Pharaoh about to be tackled by Big Dreams. Telesto getting up on the fence. Air Seattle further out, but Pharaoh won't give up. He's hanging on, and he fell in to win. Pharaoh wins the Chipping Norton over the very fast finishing Air Seattle.
We hadn't seen the last of Pharaoh or his trainer Gay Waterhouse. The 4-day Sydney Turf Club autumn meeting begins at Canterbury Park, with the major event being the semi-classic Canterbury Guineas. The short-priced favourite was Danewin, who had won his first 2 runs back at 1200 and 1400 metres for Shane Dye. For the Guineas, the Hong Kong rider Jackie Shea was back in town.
It's St Covered and Stony Bay. Danewin, 3 deep, is now looming up, and Persian Flyer right around the outside, followed by Allegro and Perfect World. In the straight, the leader Stony Bay, tackled by Danewin and Persian Flyer. Persian Flyer on the outside is running the race of his life. Persian Flyer coming at Danewin. Look at Shazkay down the outside. He's coming home right over the top of them, Shazkay. Shazkay went past those leaders like they were tied to the fence at any old odds. Shazkay in a boil over wins the Guineas.
A huge upset result here, with everyone bar the connections of rank outsider Shazkay reduced to speechlessness. Shazkay had been with Warwick Farm trainer Guy Walter less than 2 weeks following the decision of Brian Mayfield Smith to retire from training and move to South Africa. The Guineas winner was ridden by Robert Thompson. The $300,000 Winfield Classic is Australia's only Group 1 for fillies and mares. It's invariably a wide-open affair, and this year was no exception. The favourite was the Lee Friedman trained and Damien Oliver ridden Northwood Plume.
600 out, Princess Door, the leader over Vorocative, 2 lengths away to Lander, and then Centile, Moment's Pleasure, 1 off the fence, gets a chance today, followed closely by Viminaria as they turn for home. Northwood Plume is trying to angle off the rail, Light Up the World on the outside, flat to the boards, but is running on gamely. In the straight, 300 out, Princess Door, Vorocative, to Lander joining in with Moment's Pleasure on the extreme outside, followed by Centile. Light Up the World is running on very gamely. Moment's Pleasure and Talander are fighting it out. Flitter on the fence is about to fly, and his Aragen jumping out of the ground. Moment's Pleasure to Lander. Aragen is lunging. Flitter got right through on the fence, and Flitter got up to win the Winfield by a breath from either Aragen or Moment's Pleasure.
This Group 1 race was won by a Group 1 ride from Jim Cassidy, who was quite masterly in charting a course between horses in the straight. This was the second Group 1 victory for Flitter, who had beaten All Our Mob in the 1994 Doomben 10,000. This was the 3rd Winfield Classic for leading Newcastle trainer Max Lees. The Ranvet Stakes was the next stopover for Melbourne Cup winner Jeune. The handsome chestnut stallion was sent out a short-priced favourite in a race where upsets have been the rule rather than the exception.
Stony Bay in full flight at the top of the straight, led by more than a length to Durbridge, who wants to drift off under pressure. Air Seattle wide out, starting to run on, and Dittman is now starting to wind Jeune up. He's getting through between horses, and here he comes. Jeune is out after Stony Bay. Air Seattle on the outside, running on gamely. Stony Bay still in front. Dittman throwing everything at Jeune, who's lunging on the outside. Stony Bay, Jeune, Stony Bay. Stony Bay has lasted to win the Ranvet by a nose to Jeune.
Both Stony Bay and Jeune were scheduled for a rematch in the rich BMW over 2,400 metres 2 weeks later. But before that, Danewin and Jackie Shea were out to restore face in the Group 1 Rosehill Guineas.
Roadworthy tackled by Barishnikov on the outside, 2 lengths away. Danewin, who might get a rails run here. Yeah, there's plenty of room as they turn for home. Barishnikov, the leader. Danewin getting right up on the fences, out after the grey. Down the outside, here comes Shazkay. Can he make it the Guineas double? Danewin burst to the lead at the 200 mark with Jackie Chair going for home. Shazkay in second place, labouring a bit, and Danewin has burst clear 100 out. Shazkay, nothing if not game, is trying his heart out, but a perfect ride by Jackie Chair. 10 out of 10. Danewin beats Shazkay.
Connections of Danewin chose to bypass the BMW, but runner-up Shazkay and 3rd place Taradu backed up a week later in a clash with Jeune and Stony Bay in the $1 million BMW.
Stony Bay, the leader, a length on Trista Love. Royal Tiara 3rd, Jeune 3/4 away on the outside, about 2 to Irish Rort and Taradu together, followed by Shazkay on the inside of Starstruck, and 2 to Air Seattle. 600 out as they near the turn. Stony Bay, the leader. Trista Love is under pressure now in 2nd spot, so is Royal Tiara 3rd. Jeune is now being wound up by Harris, 3 deep on the turn into the straight, followed by Irish Rort, and then Taradu and Shazkay as they turn for home. Stony Bay, the leader, is clear of Trista Love. Now Harris pops the burning question to Jeune. Jeune is coming after Stony Bay, rounds him up quickly at the 200 mark. Jeune takes a narrow lead over Stony Bay, who's fighting back, and they're clear of Taradu. Jeune's ahead in front. Stony Bay is coming again. Jeune might be turning it up. Stony Bay fighting back after being headed, and you wouldn't believe it, Stony Bay has come again to win over Jeune, who looked 4s on in the straight.
Same 2 horses, same jockeys, same race course, and identical result. Stony Bay was purchased by trainer Gay Waterhouse for $120,000 through leading Sydney-based bloodstock agent Anton Kuhlman, whom you may recall also purchased New Zealand Derby winner Look Who's Talking as a yearling. This was the 4th Group 1 for the season for Gay, but the party wasn't over yet. The major race over the STC Carnival for sprinter milers is the George Ryder Stakes, conducted over 1,500 metres at weight for age. Melbourne's super sprinter Hariba was scheduled to have his first Sydney start here, and speculation was intense about his ability to get the 1,500.
Hariba led the George Ryder field, in front by a bit more than 2 lengths to Scalacci on the outside of Mahogany. There's Pharaoh whipping up 3 deep, followed by Cut Up Rough, March Hare carted deep on the turn, and then Big Dreams and Star Dancer, followed by All Our Mob, and Brave Warrior is now taken to the extreme outside. He's going to have 1 dash in the straight, 300 out. Hariba the leader, Pharaoh grabbing him now behind those Scalacci, March Hare, Brave Warrior right down the outside with All Our Mob, but Hariba kicked his clear and going strongly, 100 out from Pharaoh, with Brave Warrior and All Our Mob down the outside, but Hariba's in no danger. It's Hariba's George Ryder. Hariba scored a brilliant win over March Hare, 3rds close.
In one of the less fortunate happenings in Australian racing for the season, Hariba ran a race record here, but returned a positive swab after this win, leaving stewards with little option but disqualify him and promote March Hare to become the winner. March Hare's been a consistent performer throughout his career, winning at Group 1 level as a 2, 3 and 4-year-old. We saw earlier that Northwood Plume had no luck in the Winfield Classic, won by Flitter. Punters stuck like glue when Lead Friedman produced her 2 weeks later in the Major Oaks trial, the Group 1 Ansett Australia Stakes.
Followed by Northwood Plume, who's 5 off the lead and is about to go. And then Dodder, Samila, Vito Dara, Boart and Espresso and Ingenuity is last as they come around the turn. Straightening up, Momenti the leader, a half length to Euphoria, 3 deep as Lament, Moment's Pleasure wants a run now. Love Dance between horses, and Northwood Plume is now unleashing on the outside as they come to the 200. Euphoria hit the lead at the 200. Northwood Plume is rounding her up quickly, 2 lengths away. Vito Dara running on strongly, but Northwood Plume gave Euphoria pneumonia. Shot straight past her at the 100 mark, and it's all Northwood Plume, and a clearly superior filly on the day. Draws away to win easily over Vito Dara. Euphoria did a good job for 3rd after over-racing a bit.
3 Group 1s for the season made Northwood Plume clearly the best performed 3-year-old filly of her generation. In what has become a very familiar script to Australian racegoers, the filly was trained by Lee Friedman and ridden with precision by Damien Oliver. There's no doubt about the focus of everyone's attention in Sydney during the autumn. It's the $2 million Tooheys Golden Slipper, sharing top billing with the Foster's Melbourne Cup as Australia's richest race. This year, the STC's 6 lead-up races produced 3 results of real significance. The first being the Skyline Stakes at Canterbury, where New Zealand's glamour-cold Our Maizkay was pitted against Australia's unbeaten juvenile Strategic.
Heads a turn for home, and Our Maizkay, the leader, Strategic, about to get into the clear. Here he comes now. It's the moment of truth for the slipper favourite, Strategic. He races up to Our Maizkay. They've immediately put 4 lengths on Kidman's Cove. Strategic put his head in front. Our Maizkay fighting on, but the Sydney Colt is too good. Strategic, he's drawing away, and he'll win the slipper too.
The best of the fillies was undoubtedly Millrich, who started an odds-on favourite in the Sweet Embrace Stakes.
Into the straight, Millrich the leader. Little Pottinger on the outside is in hot pursuit as they turn for home, although Millrich slipped away, straightening up. Millrich has dashed about 2.5 on Pottinger, followed by Rustic Lady. Show of Force wide out is starting to run home strongly, but the bird has flown, and Millrich is a mile in front with 100 to go, and she's into the Golden Slipper courtesy of the Sydney Turf Club. She wins pulling up by 5 lengths to Show of Force.
The following week at Rosehill, Our Maizkay backed up in the Todman Slipper trial. But leading Sydney trainer John Hawkes had another surprise waiting for the Kiwi flyer.
Into the straight, Shaded and Tuscany Flyer, the 2 leaders, and they straighten up well clear of Our Maizkay. Exclusive Halo under the whip, followed by Zephyrs, who'll want to shake a leg, and then Octagonal pull to the extreme outside and starting to wind up at the 200. Tuscany Flyer headed Shaded. Here's the big bloke from the Shaky Isles, Our Maizkay, and Octagonal on the extreme outside, but Our Maizkay the leader. Octagonal cutting him down with every stride. Octagonal coming home the better and got there on the line.
Octagonal's win attracted rave reviews, with veteran racing men unable to recall such an inexperienced 2-year-old turning in a performance of that calibre. The barrier draw threw the betting markets into further disarray when Strategic and Our Maizkay drew the 2 outside barriers. With Octagonal, Strategic, Our Maizkay and Millrich being the best chances from Sydney, and the Blue Diamond Quinella of Principality and Flying Spur visiting from Melbourne, everything's in readiness for the 1995 $2 million Tooheys Golden Slipper Stakes.
Off and running in the slipper, and Strategic and our Maze K on the extreme outside are away brilliantly over Rustic Lady. Millrich is scooting through and is going to lead. Shaded showing plenty of early dash, followed by Zephyrs and then Tuscany Flyer. Kidman's Cove, Zedrich on the fence in a pretty handy spot. Rivada's behind a big bunch of leaders in the early stages. Further back, Exclusive Halo. Strategic now goes back to be midfield, coming around the first turn, followed by Flying Spur. At the head of the others, Rustic Lady, then Octagonal Principality, and last of all is Furicao. 700 out Shaded, got to the lead over our Maze K. A length away, Daney Boy. Zephyrs off the track. Millrich on the fence, followed by Tuscany Flyer. Then Kidman's Cove. Rivada's in the middle of the pack as they come around the turn. Zedrich on the fence with nowhere to go, followed by Exclusive Halo. And Strategic is carted at least 8 wide on the turn into the straight. Our Maze K cantered to the lead, straightening up. Our Maze K is clear by more than a length to Millrich, who's going after him. Zedrich is bullocking into the clear, followed by Flying Spur and Kidman's Cove. Our Maze K clear with 100 to go. Millrich, the filly, is coming after him quickly and getting between them. Flying Spur, and look at Octagonal jumping out of the ground. Flying Spur hit the front. Flying Spur wins the slipper. Flying Spur for Glenn Boss over Octagonal, which jumped out of the ground.
No slipper in memory has been surrounded in as much drama. Winning rider Glenn Boss only got the ride on Friday night following the disqualification of Jim Cassidy for his role in the headline-making Jockey Tapes affair. Boss, a former leading Brisbane rider, has been in Sydney for 2 years and has emerged as one of the state's finest riders. And what can you say about that Group 1 genius Lee Freedman that has not already been said many times? Freedman was winning the Golden Slipper for the 3rd successive occasion, following Bint Masquet in '93 and Dan Zero in '94. Like Dan Zero, Flying Spur was bred by Arrowfield Stud, the Australian base for Coolmore's amazing international sire, Danehill. Before leaving the Rose Hill Festival for 1995, let's look at one of the Group 2 races that had a major impact on Derby discussions. Ivory's Irish had been a major improver in the early autumn in Sydney, but had been disqualified from a minor win after returning a positive swab. His owners caused a stir in the week before the STC Tulloch Stakes when they took the gelding off trainer Jeff Borger and gave it to the old master himself, Bart Cummings.
Straightening for the run home, and Ivory's Irish quickly raced up to go past Few Are Chosen. Allegro running on strongly, followed by Blevick, who's under pressure, and further out Avedon and Persian Flyer running on gamely. Ivory's Irish clear with 100 to go. Kicking again as Few Are Chosen. They're 2 in front of Blevick. Ivory's Irish just the leader. Few Are Chosen is coming back, but Ivory's Irish holding on, and he fell in to win. Ivory's Irish won at a neck to Few Are Chosen with Blevick third.
That brings us to Derby Day at Randwick, the highlight of the Australian Jockey Club's calendar, with $2 million races on the one program. The centrepiece is, of course, the Australian Derby, featuring a return clash of the 3 place getters in the Victoria Derby, Blevick, Danewin and Stony Bay.
700 out as they near the turn. Again, Stony Bay drew clear of Persian Flyer. Danewin on the fence, followed by Few Are Chosen. Baryshnikov dropping off quickly. Then Ivory's Irish, followed by Blevick, who strung up for a moment near the fence. Further back as they come around the turn, Ram Lee, followed by Turradoo and River Ruin. Into the straight, Stony Bay allowed to drift out about 4 off the fence as well clear. Now Jackie Chair's not going to bother about the cutaway. He's come to the outside on Danewin, and look at Blevick getting up inside the pair of them, and Ivory's Irish further out. What a race in the Derby. At the 200, it's Blevick, Danewin, Ivory's Irish. Stony Bay's gone. Blevick, Danewin, Ivory's Irish on the outside. Danewin and Ivory's Irish have come away. They're going to fight it out. Ivory's Irish and Danewin, they're both pretty tight as they come to the line. Ivory's Irish won the Derby. A terrific performance by a head to Danewin.
A courageous performance by Ivory's Irish after racing wide throughout on a track made heavy by steady rain throughout the day. This was Bart Cummings' 2nd Group 1 win for the season, following the Flight Stakes with Dana Rani, but the first for jockey Larry Cassidy. As with the Victoria Derby in the spring, the Classic was once again regarded as inconclusive, with a large section of the industry believing a stronger jockey in Danewin may have reversed the result. The other $1 million feature on Derby Day is the Group 1 BMW Doncaster, an open-age handicap over 1,600 metres. The deterioration of the track saw a major betting plunge on the accomplished mud runner and 1994 Doncaster winner, Pharaoh.
At the 600 mark, and Barrel is just the leader over Pimpala Sun, and Mr. Marconi Snaps had a lovely run. Pharaoh's carted about 4 deep on the turn, followed by LA Glen, and then Aragen, Pride of Rancho, followed by All Our Mob. Further back is Brave Warrior and Light Up the World near the fence. Coming over the rise, Barrel takes the lead from Pimpala Sun. Down the outside is Pharaoh looking for 2. Doncaster straight. Can he do it again? Light Up the World is getting up near the fence, but Pharaoh dashed to the lead from LA Glen, and Light Up the World followed by Aragen and Brave Warrior, but Gavin Eads goes for home on Pharaoh. Look at Auntie Mary. Auntie Mary out of the pack is thundering home. Too late. Pharaoh makes it. 2 Doncasters on the trot. Pharaoh beat Auntie Mary.
Pharaoh returned to a hero's welcome, and most of the applause was for his trainer, racing's First Lady, Gay Waterhouse. This was Gay's 5th Group 1 for the season, and Pharaoh's 2nd. Victory and success of Doncasters boosted the 7-year-old's bankroll to small change short of $2 million. 2 days after the Doncaster, Randwick's other autumn Group 1 mile is decided, the all-age stakes at Weight for Age. The form around Hariba in the Rider Stakes was undoubtedly strong, which led to March Hare being set out favourite.
Durbridge on the outside took a narrow lead over Allegro as they straighten up. Perfect World in 3rd place, followed by Hurricane Sky, and then March Hare now taken to the extreme outside. Over the rise, Durbridge the leader. He got away from Allegro. Perfect World's gone, and March Hare and Hurricane Sky are putting in their runs simultaneously. At the 200, Durbridge tackled by Hurricane Sky, who grabs the lead in the middle. March Hare under the whip is making heavy weather of it. Hurricane Sky, the leader, coming right along the fence, is voting. March Hare is now coming at Hurricane Sky. Hurricane Sky just the leader. March Hare on the outside lunged but couldn't get him, and Hurricane Sky wins the all-age to head to March Hare with voting on the inside 3rd.
A fighting win here to Hurricane Sky, who had taken time to get back to the Group 1 winning form he showed last season as a 2-year-old. Later in the season, managing owner David Moody announced ambitious plans for Hurricane Sky to take on the Group 1 circuit in California in 1996. In New Zealand, the Doncaster equivalent is the Easter Handicap, a Group 1 open handicap over 1,600 metres at Ellerslie on Easter Saturday. In testing conditions, the favourite was the smart 3-year-old Matsqui.
as they swing down past the 450 and Pakaraka Starter Western Red. Matsqui the favourite, followed by Quidado down the extreme outside. Then we've got Dollars and Gold, Suncatcher, Gold Cup and Sir William Montague. Matsqui is holding though. From on the outside, Quidado, followed by Pakaraka Star as they race in 150 left to go in the Easter Handicap, sponsored by Sleepyhead. Pakaraka Star getting through on the inside and Matsqui, they fight it out. Pakaraka Star, Matsqui. Pakaraka Star has beaten Matsqui. Third is Roy's Boy on the outside.
Pakaraka Star was yet another bargain buy turned Group 1 winner, this one costing just 5,000 New Zealand dollars. Pakaraka Star is by Star Joe, a member of the first crop of leading sire Starway and winner of the Australian Derby at Ascot. Melbourne has 3 Group 1 sprints decided during the autumn, but Sydney has just one, the Galaxy at Randwick. This 1,100 metre open handicap has a list of past winners that includes Bletchingley, Luskin Star and the Great Scalacci. But this year's field didn't appear as strong as previous years.
Royal Discard is the widest runner on the turn into the straight, and then Laura's Express and Headstrong as they come over the rise. Miss Kariba being tackled now by Moss Rocket on the outside, the heavyweight in third spot, Magic Winner struggling, and then Legal Agent coming to the 200 mark. Miss Kariba still in front, Moss Rocket getting to him, the heavyweight is running on gamely, and Magic of Money and Simpose are storming down the outside. Miss Kariba in front close to home, shifting out under pressure. Magic of Money is coming home right over the top of it, but Miss Kariba, oh, they're wide apart, they're pretty wide apart. Miss Kariba and Magic of Money in a tight one in the Galaxy.
A storming win by the beautifully bred Magic of Money and a first Group 1 for Alan Bell in his new role as a trainer, though he has won multiple Group 1s as an owner through the deeds of Scalacci and Primacy. This also was a maiden Group 1 for young Newcastle lightweight Daryl McClellan. The AJC Australian Oaks is the annual highlight for 3-year-old fillies. Northwood Plume, winner of 3 Group 1s already for the season, was a logical favourite and was sent to the post at long odds on.
Rain in Spain starting a forward move 3 deep, and now they're bunching up, followed by Euphoria, Magnetic Bell. At the head of the others, Espresso, then Vito Dara, Staying Alive, Danarani, and well back Centane's Gift, and Boart is about to take off around the field as they swing the corner. Into the straight, Circles of Gull, the leader, over Al Smooth, Light Up the World, about to get the rails run, and then Love Dance, followed by Northwood Plume, taking a little while to get going. To the 200 mark, Circles of Gold about to be joined by Light Up the World. Here's Northwood Plume, Love Dance, and further out Euphoria. Circles of Gold tackled by Northwood Plume. Love Dance further out Euphoria. Circles of Gold fighting back. She's a half length on Northwood Plume. Love Dance, they can't pick up the leader, and Circles of Gold led all the way to win.
A tough staying exhibition from the front by Circles of Gold left her rivals with little or no excuse. This filly was selected as a yearling by Les Young of Doncaster Bloodstock and was prepared by Brian Smith. It appeared Northwood Plume had peaked at Rose Hill in the Ansett Australia Stakes and had been unable to hold that high level of performance. Most Sydney Cup hopefuls have their final lead-up race in the Chairman's Handicap over 2,600 metres on Derby Day, and this year it was won by the Neville McBurney-trained Spiritual Star for the Melbourne visitor Darcher. This pair was scheduled for a rematch 7 days later over the ultimate flat distance of 3,200 metres.
Spiritual Star, Dark Czar well back with Nasabidi and Super Monarch as last under pressure as they turn for home. Gull Sovereign, the leader, coming over the rise, got away by 2.5 to Darcher getting to second. Then Mystic Cash and Quick Ransom followed by Cross Swords. His Star struck into the clear, running on strongly, followed by Royal Tiara. At the 200, Gull Sovereign, the leader. Darcher and Starstruck are trying desperately to pick him up. Gull Sovereign still in front. Darcher grabs him now. Darcher takes the lead close to home in the windbag colours. Look at Dark Czar jumping out of the ground with Balmaressa, but Darcher held on to win the Cup about a neck to the fast finishing Dark Czar.
The gelding is just the latest Group 1 horse selected by leading syndicator Harry Lawton, whose credits include the 1987 Melbourne Cup with Kenseye. Trainer John Maher was winning his second Sydney Cup, having previously taken the race in 1987 with Major Drive, and the widespread praise for the ride of apprentice Brett Preble was entirely justified. Melbourne Cup hero Jeune had been the centre of some unfortunate press following a sequence of 4 successive second placings at Group 1 level. The less experienced observers cruelly branded the stallion as ungenuine, when the truth was that this imported horse had simply been feeling the hard autumn tracks. Given the gift of rain in the week leading up to the Queen Elizabeth Stakes, we waited for the real Jeune to stand up and be counted.
Into the straight in the Queen Elizabeth, Durbridge the leader over Lamour. In third place, Dane Wynn, who gets his chance, followed by All Our Mob. Then Skywatch, Pharaoh, Mapperley Star, and March Hare to the extreme outside as they come over the rise. Durbridge still in front at the 200. Dane Wynn is about to go after him. All Our Mob on the inside is running a hell of a race, and here's Jeune coming out of the pack now. Past the 150 mark, All Our Mob tackled by Dane Wynn and Jeune. Jeune headed Dane Wynn close to home. Jeune drawing away. Oh, he's a better horse at Randwick. Look at him go now. Jeune draws away to beat Dane Wynn. March Hare third.
This completed a champagne season for the Sheikh Hamdan's imported stallion Jeune and made him a short price favourite to be Australia's Horse of the Year. Jeune's season saw him contest 11 Group 1s for the excellent record of 4 wins and 6 seconds, and this explosive performance surely answered any remaining critics. We are now looking at the remaining 2-year-old races in Sydney and New Zealand. The brilliant Octagonal was widely regarded as unlucky in the Golden Slipper Stakes, and this son of Cambridge stud's new stallion Zabeel was favoured to make amends in the AJC Sires Produce Stakes.
To the turn, Exclusive Halo is just the leader. Zedrich going up to almost join him on the turn. On the fence, Arashi as they straighten up, followed by Martinets, and then Burrito, and Strategic has now popped the big question as they come over the rise, and his Octagonal taken to the extreme outside. Coming to the 200 mark, and Zedrich is just the leader from Exclusive Halo. Here they come now, Strategic, Octagonal, and Show of Force. Little Show of Force is squeezing through in the centre. Show of Force and Octagonal hit the lead from Strategic. Show of Force and Octagonal. Isolde coming late on the inside as they hit the line. Octagonal, Isolde. Isolde has lunged and right on the line. Might have got up to beat Octagonal, but there's little in it.
A fitting compensation for Octagonal, who appeals as the 2-year-old colt most likely to train on next season. Octagonal is the 3rd Group 1 winner produced by the imported mare 8 Carat, following Carpstead and Diamond Lover. Octagonal and Isolde met again at Randwick on April 29, this time at 1,600 metres in the Group 1 Moet and Chandon Champagne Stakes.
Into the straight, Isolde led from Octagonal. 3 deep is Pontal Lash. Show of Force widest of all, and Latin Court has got a mile of room on the inside if he's good enough. Over the rise, Isolde still in front. Cooksley getting busy on Octagonal, and Pontal Lash and Show of Force further out, and the other one, Latin Court, is only a length and a half off the lead. Isolde being tackled in earnest by Octagonal. Octagonal coming at Isolde. Pontal Lash is still there. Octagonal's gutsy, so is Isolde. They're coming to the line absolutely locked together in a head bob, and maybe Isolde, but gee, there's nothing in it, Isolde or Octagonal.
The lack of speed in the Champagne made the result inconclusive, but there's no doubting the quality of the first two. Isolde became the 41st Group 1 winner in a star-studded career for the mighty Sir Tristram. The filly was bred in New Zealand by Patrick Hogan's Cambridge stud and is raced by a partnership headed by Barrymore stud principal Sir Tristan Antico. Meanwhile, New Zealand's 2 Group 1 races for juveniles were conducted on very heavy tracks. In sharp contrast to the competitive nature of the 2-year-old scene in Australia, the New Zealand juveniles were one-act affairs.
She's 3.5 in front of Straight Clip. The stablemate goes after her. And then we have Captive D Talento ridden up by Zanstar looking for a run wider out the Big Bopper, but has she got some on them? Turning in Ballroom Babe. Ballroom Babe straightens up in the size about 6 lengths in front. Straight Clip, then Captive. Further away is the Big Bopper, wider out Robin's Law, but Ballroom Babe is well clear in the sires. No problems this year for NG Harris, and Ballroom Babe is this a brilliant win. She's out by nearly 12 on Straight Clip and Captive. Wider out Robin's Law's getting home well, but the biggest win in the sires ever, I'd say. Ballroom Babe has absolutely waltzed in by the best part of 12 lengths.
Have you ever seen an easier win in a Group 1 race? At Ellerslie on April 15, we almost did.
At the 400, she's pulled out the class and she's hopped right away, Ballroom Babe. Out by 5-6 lengths now from My Modest Captive, then Kesson Power. In behind them, Mikolov and Skavinsky Skavar. But it's all over 200 metres to go in the Ford Dealer Team Ellerslie Size Produce Stakes. Shades of Awapuni coming up here. And it's Ballroom Babe, the City Dancer filly, been kept up by rider Gary Gould. She's well clear. And it's Ballroom Babe, 8 to 9 lengths. Mikolov rushed into second, My Modest third.
Ballroom Babe was purchased for just $4,250 New Zealand dollars as a yearling by trainer Graham Sanders. This brilliant filly is a member of the first crop of Ivan Allen's English racer, City Dancer, now installed in New South Wales at Sedgenhoe Stud.
Raceplay presents the story of two of Australia's most courageous racehorses, Super, Better, Best, the saga of Superimpose and Better Loosen Up, a video to treasure forever.
For express delivery, phone Raceplay 03 699 4188 and quote your credit card. The South Australian Jockey Club has made their May Carnival extremely attractive to 3-year-old fillies by moving the Australasian Oaks from its traditional February date. This year, a frightful accident in the straight cast a dark shadow over what was otherwise an exciting contest.
Around the outside, Dana Rani, and further back in the field, Arrogant trying to wend her way into the clear, and they were followed out wide on the track then by Euphoria. Racing down to the 200-metre mark, there's a fall. Arrogant's crashed to the track. Arrogant is down and is hurt. And as they race down with 150 to go, it's Yogan Dawn, the leader. Here's Tranquility getting a split on the inside, but Yogan Dawn in front. Yogan Dawn goes on to score. Yogan Dawn first, Tranquility second, or Dana Rani.
Group 1 winner Arrogant was killed as a result of that fall, and the jockey responsible received a long suspension. Yogan Dawn is trained at Geelong in Victoria by Peter Tennant and was ridden by Michael Clark, a multiple winner of Melbourne's Jockeys Premierships during his reign as stable jockey for Colin and David Hayes. The Australasian Oaks is decided over 2,000 metres. The next step for these 3-year-old fillies is the South Australian Oaks, over 2,500 metres at Morfordville, headquarters for racing in the southern state.
Don't forget New Gold Dream in the straight circles of Gold Glowing Heights and Joie de Nice. Further out behind them, Broanne, and down the outside, Tranquility and Cherentessa are coming. And so is Ladybird Blue. They're across the track. Cherentessa out wide's gone to the front from Broanne. Glowing Heights sticks on, and then Tranquility. It's Cherentessa in front, getting close to home, and Cherentessa wins it for Leon Corsten, second, Ladybird Blue.
Although Cherentessa had been placed in the Group 3 Auraria Stakes, this Oaks victory was something of a surprise. The race represented an entry to the classic scene for Leon Corstens in his first year as a licensed trainer, having spent the previous 20 years as Melbourne foreman for Cups King Bart Cummings. The South Australian Derby gave Adelaide racegoers the chance to see one of the early favourites for the Melbourne Cup. The rapidly improving Kiwi visitor, Count Chivas, had shown speed, courage and stamina in winning the St Leger Stakes at Flemington at his previous start, and looked a stayer of substance.
Assalant runs on further back in the field. Napier Street. Count Chivas, the big fellow, is starting to put in now, but he's 5 off the lead to the 220. The leader, Slingshot from Scrupulous. 2 to Shystad, 3 away on the outside. Count Chivas is starting to motor. Here comes the favourite, Count Chivas. Count Chivas races to Scrupulous. Count Chivas has put in a Herculean performance. Count Chivas, a regal win. Count Chivas first, second Storm, third Scrupulous.
Count Chivas is the 15th individual stakes winner sired by Lord Ballina, the Bletchingley horse who has done such a wonderful job from his base at Ardsley Stud, mastered in New Zealand. The 3-year-old was expertly prepared by Don Selwood and precision ridden by Noel Harris. One of a rare number of blemishes on the Group 1 circuit in Australia is the continued inability of clubs to avoid a clash of Group 1 sprints in Brisbane and Adelaide in the middle of May. This year, it happened again, with the Goodwood Handicap in Adelaide and the Doomben 10,000 in Brisbane being decided on the same afternoon. The Adelaide race was a wide-open affair, with Oakley Plate winner Carptingly the favourite.
Round the turn, under 600 a race in the Goodwood, and Hero Wind out wide, and on the inside Just Awesome from Viminaria, the heavyweight. There's a traffic jam. Lattonvilla getting through. Centile on the outside is there, just behind Daring Ombre as they straighten. Then Shanty Creek and Pay the Kings, the heavyweight, just ahead of those on the rail. Wide out Dunster Castle, Carptingly trying to get a run through. Lindbergh likewise, and so is Shavit at the 200 though. And the leader now is Hero Wind. Here comes Lattonvilla and Centile. Centile races up. Carptingly comes after Centile. Won't get Centile. Centile in front, close to home, and at big odds. Centile takes out the Group 1 Goodwood.
Like many results during the Morphettville Carnival, this result was affected, at least in part, by a track that was biased against runners near the rails. From barrier 20, Centile and David Taggart were never remotely close to the fence and sailed home to victory. This was the third Goodwood for the respected George Hanlon, following Marjolio in 1980 and Boardwalk Angel in 1989. The Adelaide race may have been a questionable Group 1 in terms of overall quality, but the Doomben 10,000 was a crackerjack lineup. Punters put their money behind the Doomben specialist Chief De Beers, a winner of 8 races at the track, and he had Mick Dittman in the saddle.
Chief De Beers is just behind them, waiting to pounce, followed by My Red Sense So Keen, and then Legal Agent and Roostland, and Sea Winnie is giving them a mile start. In the straight now, 300 metres to go, and Mick said, let's go on the Chief, and he's raced away from them. Chief De Beers put a gap in them at the 200. He's 4 lengths in front. The 10,000 is all over. The Chief is streaking away from them. He's going to win easily. All Our Mob holding down second, then Cohort, but what a win. Chief De Beers by 4 lengths.
This was a truly explosive performance that ranks second only to Hariba's victory in the Australia Stakes as the most dominating Group 1 victory of the season. Chief De Beers has shown the most extraordinary consistency, winning 8 races and never being unplaced in 16 starts. A magical big race ride here by Mick Dittman, and we must acknowledge a fine training performance by Bill Calder. 2 days later, Adelaide puts on her biggest day of racing for the year, the running of the $275,000 Group 1 Adelaide Cup.
Storm and Balmaressa go. Ice Doctor got a half length on them. Magical Storm, Scrupulous down the outside, and Bullwinkle 200 out. Ice Doctor. The bookies hope in front. Here's Scrupulous and Storm. Ice Doctor still in front. Scrupulous and Storm try to get to Ice Doctor. Ice Doctor in front. Scrupulous comes at it. Ice Doctor hanging on. Scrupulous made a dive tight. Don't know. Scrupulous the outside, Ice Doctor the inside from Storm, Magical Storm and Bullwinkle together.
The Adelaide Cup has been a great race for 3-year-olds, with its winners often training on to be front runners in Melbourne Cup discussions. The most recent being Sub-Zero in 1992. This year, however, the result pointed powerfully to the quality of the Derby winner, Count Chivas, who had convincingly beaten Scrupulous at Morphettville just 9 days earlier. We saw earlier in the program that top 3-year-old Danewin had met Group 1 defeats in 2 derbies and the Queen Elizabeth Stakes when ridden by the Hong Kong jockey Jackie Che. With the stronger and more vigorous Shane Dye back on board, Danewin was sent out a 7-4 favourite for the Group 1 Doomben Cup at Wait for Age.
Danewin in front, 250 metres to go. Rough Habit trying hard, Brave Warrior. Dana Singer's getting the run on the inside, coming out to Danewin, but Danewin is giving plenty. 150 to go, Danewin is the leader. Dana Singer trying hard, Turradoo's now up to third. Danewin in front, Dye punching him hard, and he's won the Doomben Cup. Danewin first, Dana Singer I think second.
This was the 3rd Group 1 win for the season for Danewin, who had earlier become the first horse in Australia to break the 2-minute barrier for 2,000 metres when winning the Rosehill Guineas. Danewin has been trained throughout his career by the successful Randwick mentor Bobby Thompson, whose most recent top liner was the 6-time Group 1 winner Slight Chance.
This year's Winter Carnival at Eagle Farm has been hailed as the best ever, with quality horses, huge attendances and strong betting races right throughout the 3-day meeting. Oaks Day opened proceedings with the Sydney fillies Circles of Gold and Joie de Nice dominating discussions.
Heading for the judge now, 400 metres to go. Circles of Gold is the leader. She's under a little bit of pressure. She leads by a length on Euphoria, who's trying hard on the outside. Joie Denise is up to third, followed by Ladybird Blue on the outside, starting a long run. Circles of Gold is the leader, 200 metres out. Joie Denise is coming after her. Euphoria's gone, then Ladybird Blue. Joie Denise and Circles of Gold. They're stride for stride. Joie Denise hit the lead close to home, and she's edging away from Circles of Gold. Joie Denise first.
A real sentimental victory here, as Joie Denise is the first Group 1 winner produced by the former champion filly Denise's Joy, who'd also won the Queensland Oaks in an absolute cakewalk back in 1976. The Queensland Derby had been shaping as the race of the carnival, but was reduced somewhat when the Australian Derby Quinella, Damewood and Ivory's Irish were declared non-runners. This provided a Group 1 opportunity for a most tough and consistent performer, the Gary Fraser-trained Tarradoo.
And with 450 metres left to go, it's Maxim about to be joined by Circles of Gold on the outside. Just behind them, Juggler coming into it with a well-timed run. Stay tuned to the outside. Starmakers just behind them. Tarradoo going for a run on the inside, and Brave Warrior the extreme outside. Circles of Gold swept to the lead, 250 metres to go. Here comes Brave Warrior. Tarradoo's through on the inside. Brave Warrior's moved up to go to the lead, but Tarradoo is tackling him on the inside. Tarradoo's hit the front. Dipman's driving him hard, and he's going to send him to the post to win the Derby. Tarradoo first, Brave Warrior second.
Mick Dickman's winning ride was hailed as masterly, but it came at some expense. His bravery in forcing a run at the 200 metres met with a 6-week suspension, and under certain European interpretations, he would have almost certainly have been disqualified. This was trainer Gary Fraser's first Group 1 victory, but it was the third for the season for the man they call the Enforcer. Brisbane's major sprint is the Stradbroke Handicap, run on the Saturday of the Queen's Birthday weekend in June. Like the Doomben 10,000, this year's Stradbroke was a high-quality affair, and once again, Chief De Beers was the centre of a substantial betting plunge.
Carptingly starting to go forward. All our mobbers drop back and he's under pressure. Ferragamo pulled to the outside, and then Matsky in the straight. Just Awesome is the leader. Scalacci second. Mick is winding up the Chief on the outside. He's after them. Sublimate behind them on the rails. Then Ruslan, and Carptingly's coming with a great run. Chief De Beers hit the lead. Scalacci's going with him. Ruslan joining in on the outside. Scalacci's in front. Ruslan diving at him the last little bit. Ruslan went to Scalacci and beat him. Ruslan first. Scalacci second, I think. Carptingly maybe third.
Trainer John Morris deserves enormous credit here, having worked tirelessly on the injury-plagued but talented Ruslan in a bid to get him right for the big occasion. This was also a triumph for courageous comeback jockey Gary Palmer, who 12 months earlier was lying in hospital, wondering if he ever would ride again, let alone steer home another Stradbroke winner. Queensland hosts 2 Group 1 races for 2-year-olds, 9 days apart at Eagle Farm. The first of these is the QTC Sires Produce Stakes over 1,400 metres, and looked at 2-horse race between the AJC Champagne Stakes heroine Isolde and the emerging filly Shame, unbeaten in 2 starts in Sydney on heavy tracks.
Shame is third last, sticking to the inside as they head for home. In the straight now, 350 metres to go, and the grey has gone to the lead. Concur got away from the Virginian. On the outside, running on solidly as Isolde. Martinez is there in the middle. Donar down the outside, and Shame is weaving her way through the field. Isolde's the leader. Here comes Shame. Shame on the inside is after Isolde. Shame has hit the lead. Shame is just in front of Isolde, drawing clear at the end. Oh, she's a good filly.
Shame was bred by Barramel Stud in the Widden Valley of New South Wales and purchased for $120,000 at the 1994 Australian Easter sale by Jack and Bob Ingham. This was also the second Group 1 2-year-old winner for the season for Colin Grove Stud's impressive Sadler's Wells stallion, Scenic. Shame and Isolde were set for a rematch under handicap conditions in the Castlemaine 2-year-old Classic.
Shame is on the back of Isolde, following up behind her now, then Totally Modern in the home straight, 400 metres to go. Kidman's Cove is the leader, the Winslow boy trying hard. Ravada joining in, Tavana coming at them solidly on the outside. Isolde and Shame starting to wind up, but they're still giving the leaders a start. 200 metres to go, Ravada's in front of Kidman's Cove. Here's Isolde, Donar's through in the middle, Shame the outside. Ravada in front, Donar, Isolde coming at Ravada. They're drawing to the line, they hit it. Oh, this is close, Ravada or Isolde.
Ravada had been regarded as the worst weighted horse in the Castlemaine Classic, but reduced the critics to silence as he made light of his 57-kilo handicap and his wide barrier draw. This was the second Group 1 win in the short career of young Sydney trainer Brian Guy, and the third for the season for jockey Larry Cassidy. The curtain comes down on the Australian Group 1 season with the running of the Brisbane Cup over the metric 2 miles at Eagle Farm. In a race which lacked a genuine Group 1 performer, Pratara's Bay, Desert Chill, Pindi and Few Are Chosen were the ones to dominate pre-race discussions.
Pratara's Bay is sweeping right around the field, and going with him is Desert Chill, and Gossips is going with the pair of them. They hit the straight in the Brisbane Cup. Feward Chosen has raced away. He's a length and a half in front. Here comes Desert Chill and Pratara's Bay on the outside. Both are finishing brilliantly. 200 metres to go. Chris Muntz has now taken Desert Chill to the lead. It's Desert Chill in front of Feward Chosen. Pratara's Bay trying hard on the outside, but the Desert Chill is giving plenty. He's got the Cup won. Yes, Desert Chill first, and a big victory wave from the jockey.
Desert Chill provided the first successful hometown defence of the Brisbane Cup since Gary Palmer steered the Jim Atkins-trained Grey Affair to victory in 1979. The Cup was a career highlight for Chris Muntz, who emerged victorious from some controversy over his rides on the Boom Queensland 3-year-old Brave Warrior during the carnival. It was also a professional high point for the former New Zealand trainer, but now Queensland-based, Bevan Lemming. That was the Australasian racing year for 1994-95. There were so many great races, so many superior winners, that to reduce it all to a handful of highlights is a matter of personal choice. For me, the performance of the year had to be Hariba's complete destruction of a high-class field of sprinters in the Australia Stakes at Flemington in January. He met the best, raced on the slower side of the track, and crushed them with a display of power-packed sprinting that I'll remember forever. Then there was Jeune, so brilliant, so consistent, yet so controversial. On one hand, he won the Foster's Melbourne Cup, yet he returned in the autumn with a burst of finishing speed in the CF4 Stakes that was absolutely breathtaking. Daneman teased us with the possibility of greatness and won 3 Group 1s while being beaten in both the Victoria and Australian derbies. He could be our next superstar. And what of Chief De Beers, the sensational Queensland sprinter who's won 9 races at the Doomben track? Regardless of what the future holds, his Doomben 10,000 victory was a spellbinding performance. Damien Oliver was once again the premier Group 1 rider, ahead of Grant Cooksley, Wayne Harris and Simon Marshall. While in the training ranks, Australia's latest Group 1 genius, Lee Freedman, led the table for the 3rd successive year, just ahead of arch rival David Hayes. Speaking of David Hayes, the colt from Lindsay Park handed in his Australian licence at the end of June to move to international racing's most wealthy domain, Hong Kong. David took over from his father, the great Colin Hayes, in 1990 and has won the Adelaide and Melbourne Trainers' Premiership in each season since. In his final season, fate may have needed to lend a hand, but the records will still show Lindsay Park's premiership record intact, albeit by just 1 win from Lee Freedman. But the best story of 1995 was the emergence of Gay Waterhouse as a major force on the Group 1 scene. The daughter of 34 times champion Sydney trainer Tommy Smith has now won 8 Group 1s in her 3 years as a trainer, as well as having supplied Tiako Nick as runner-up to Vintage Crop in the 1993 Melbourne Cup. This year she won 2 with Pharaoh, 2 with Stony Bay, and the Newmarket in Melbourne with All Our Mob. And while on the subject of women making an impact on racing, keep an eye out for Sarah Campbell when she ultimately comes to Australia. 2 Group 1 wins for an 18-year-old apprentice indicates a future of untold promise. On behalf of Bill and Gary, I hope you've enjoyed the thrills and spills and triumphs and tragedies, the agonies and the ecstasies that have all blended together here to become the 13th edition of the Australasian Racing Year.